Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. If you guys all will rise and join us with the national anthem by the Broken Arrow Senior Center Choir, please. Thank you all. So they came and joined us on National Elected Officials Day, which we didn't even know it was a thing, and so now we do. So now you guys have to come back every year and sing for us, just saying. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. All right, we have invocation by Pastor Conley.
If you guys would join me in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful to be here today, and we're honored to have the privilege to gather today for this process. We pray that you would fill us with wisdom and discernment and be present with us in all that we discuss. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Roll call.
Pickle.
Here.
Green. Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Now, if you'll stand and join me again in the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilor or Vice Mayor Parks. Oh, I just demoted you.
Salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item 8 is public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, and awards. 8A is conduct a public hearing for the proposed 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. Tom Cook.
Yeah, you can bring that up. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. Spurgeon, Trevor. The Municipal Budget Act of 1979 requires the council to conduct a public hearing to provide the public an opportunity to review and comment on the city's proposed annual budget. In compliance with this act, this hearing is held for the purpose of receiving the public's comments on the proposed City of Broken Arrow 25-26 fiscal year budget. The notice to the public hearing was published on May 27th in the Tulsa World, and copies of the proposed 25-26 fiscal year budget have been available for review here at City Hall and on our website. And we do have a brief presentation for just a quick overview of the budget.
Mayor, if I may. So thank you, Tom. Tom and I are actually going to cover the budget this evening. Cindy Arnold, our finance director, had a family emergency, and I just asked everyone to keep their in our thoughts and prayers. She'll be back to work later this week. And so it is a pleasure to be here with you this evening to go over probably the most important thing the council does every year, and that is actually conduct a public hearing and then adopting the fiscal year plan for the upcoming year. So I'd like to start with the slide that I begin with every year, and that is just showing that our fiscal year budget cycle is what we go on, not an annual calendar. So we run the budget actually from July 1st through June 30th. I wanted to make everyone aware that there's a copy of the budget in the city clerk's office at the front desk in the city hall on the south end of City Hall, and also online. And the budget book, if someone should choose to read this, and as council knows, it consists of a number of different funds, expenses, proposed revenues, and basically where the dollars come from and what dollars are being proposed to be spent in each of the funds that we have for the upcoming year. Those are a list of what's in the budget book that council has basically seen and we looked at the workshop. I would encourage anyone that does choose to look at the budget is to review the first section, the first 24 pages, because that is the executive summary section, which outlines essentially the major work plan from what's being planned for the upcoming fiscal year. And it talks about the areas that we're going to focus on in addition to the day-to-day operations that we provide to the community. Now, with regard to the budget, let me start by saying that the municipal budget process serves as a blueprint for the following purposes: to review and confirm the priorities of local government, determine our service levels based on those priorities and sustainable resources available, and then thoroughly review a plan of work that we're actually asking you to consider and the operations for the upcoming fiscal year. Now, as we've talked about over the years, essentially the top priorities that the council has established consist of public safety and the community well-being, economic development focusing on growth and prosperity, innovative municipal government operations, for fiscal sustainability and strategic public investments, which there are many on the agenda this evening, transformational initiatives should help maintain a thriving and healthy community, and then transparency and communication. And obviously, the efforts over the last few years have resulted in the recognitions that we recently received in terms of being one of the best places to live in Oklahoma and the country. Essentially, everything we do is focused around all the departments in one of those 6 areas. So when you put the budget together, there are 4 basic principles that we use, which is establishing the revenues and expenditures, and we always do that conservatively. Bottom line is that with the type of revenue sources that we have, we need to be conservative and make sure that whatever we put in place today is sustainable into the future. Sales tax is our largest revenue source, and it fluctuates, as you will see a little bit later, in making sure that what we establish, we can pay for it and we can sustain it. Secondly is that council, by law, has to ensure that all our funds balance and that we have a budget that basically is balanced. We build in the contingencies for unexpected, the unextraordinary or extraordinary situations that may occur, and always focusing on long-term sustainability of our city. Now, with regard to the municipal budget, I'd like to point out a couple of things. The basis for the budget recommendation really comes down to 3 things. 1, implementing the council's #1 goal, and that is trying to provide great services to our city. Secondly is addressing our demands for public infrastructure and public services that meet the expectations of a fast-growing community like Broken Arrow, and then maintaining a great quality of life. I love to show this slide because it breaks down what the sales tax. There are some residents in our community, because maybe they came from somewhere else, we don't get any property tax to pay for operations. We do get property taxes to pay for general obligation bonds that the voters approve, but essentially our #1 resource is sales tax. So sales tax in Tulsa County is 8.417, and effective July 1st of this year, Wagner County will be 9.6 because they passed a temporary measure earlier this year to help pay for that judgment. So that's the sales tax that the residents pay when they go to purchase goods and services within our community.
This is always a great slide for residents to see.
Yes, I mean, we still get comments on Facebook every day that we pay our property taxes. Well, yes, you do. Your property taxes, in this case, by Constitution, can only go for certain items, which is predominantly for the repayment of bonds. So the actual operations of the city is paid for through sales tax, franchise fees, and other revenues received, and the utilities paid for with the utility revenues that were received for the water, sewer, solid waste, and other municipal services we provide that are part of the BAMA. So some of the budget challenges that we face this year is the fact that sales tax is trending flat. We did see an increase in sales tax. However, it is trending flat and has for most of this year. Inflation is a major contributor to the fact that operational expenses are up. We continue to have challenges with the supply chain availability. As council knows, there's been many large purchases that we've actually forward funded because we get a discount when we purchase those items. And we continue, despite our current pleas every year to the legislature, this overdependency on sales tax, which is an elastic and not a sustainable revenue source. So here's an example of where we are with regard to sales tax so far through the first essentially 9 or 10 months of the year. We did have a couple of good years, but for the most part, it was essentially sales taxes is trending to where it's flat. So our estimates this year, once again, on what we anticipate an increase in sales tax is only about 1.5%.
Mr. Spurgeon, may I interrupt there? Can
Absolutely.
you go back to that last slide? I don't believe in your tenure that we've ever had 2 months that were negative to the prior year. I mean, so it just kind of illustrates the point that it, while overall positive, bears our overwatch.
It does. He's exactly right. I don't remember in 10 years that we've had 2 months in a year that we were down. Obviously, we've been blessed with the fact that with the use tax, a lot of folks are shopping online, and now it's at the point of sale to where we're actually seeing increases. But even with that, it's trending in basically in a flat way as well. I appreciate you pointing that out, Tom.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, this time I'm going to ask Tom to talk a little bit about the proposed budget for this year.
So the FY26 proposed municipal budget totals $455,957,612, and that represents a 3.44% decrease over FY25's budget of $472,198,240. The breakdown on the FY26 proposed expenditures: operationally, $181,303 million, and that's a 9.58% increase over last year's $165,444,000. Capital outlay of $232,561,000, and that is a 12.95% decrease over the current year's $267,160,000. And then debt service of $42,093,256, which is a 6.31% increase over last year's $39,500,000. And the total of those items is the $455,957,000. For the City of Broken Arrow's general fund, the proposed 26 budget is $153,662,215, and that number includes expenditures, transfers out, and what our proposed ending fund balance will be. FY25's total budget amount was $151,142,668, and the overall increase proposed for 26 is 1.67%. Total revenues proposed for FY26, not including operating transfers, is $98,642,078. The FY26 revenue sources combined are 5.44% greater than the current FY25 budget. For fiscal year 26, we projected sales tax at 1.5%, greater than our estimated actuals for FY25, and then our other revenues are projected based on historical data and our current environment. General fund expenditures, personnel services totaled $21.9 million. Other services, $8.5 million. Materials and supply, $2 million. Total operating expenses are $32,478,469. Transfers out in the general fund are a transfer to Bama of $21,414,000, a transfer to Beta of $600,000, transfer to the police sales tax fund of $36.2 million, and a transfer to the fire sales tax fund of $30.2 million. So total expenditures are $120,978,215, and our projected ending fund balance would be $32,684,000. The general fund operational expenses in the budget book, they are in section 2, and you can see the departments listed and what pages those departments are found.
Thank you, Tom. The next item I wanted to mention is our Sales Tax Capital Improvement Fund. We also call it STCI. This is a very important fund within the budget. The voters many years ago actually approved a 0.5%, which consists, what's included in our 3.55 total of the city's sales tax for STCI. This year, based on collection, revenues estimated to come in at just under $11 million for what we term as basically the pay-as-you-go capital improvements. This could actually be the replacement of roofs, HVAC systems. We've done a number in the last couple of years. Could be smaller vehicles. It could be other capital type improvements that would come from those funds. This year, right now, one of the things we will be doing is we'll be rolling over $22.5 million, which are projects that are currently somewhere in the construction or the acquisition process. So we have to encumber those funds because those projects are not completed yet. So those will roll over, and then we'll have an additional about $11 million worth of projects. And you can see the proposed projects for anyone that does look to the budget in section 4 on pages 11 through 14. I want to take this opportunity, as the council knows, when we do the budget workshop, I always pick 2 directors to actually come and give updates specifically on their budget. This year we had 2 additional great presentations. The first was from Fire Chief Jeremy Moore, which actually talked not only about the operations, but also about the future of the department and things that we're looking at to make sure we maintain that basically our rating of 1 for ISO, and also looking at the deployment of our personnel. So I really appreciate his update.
Before you do that, could I ask a question of
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Cook? Would you explain to everyone, I mean, I know, been here so many years, what we mean by transfer the funds? Transferring funds?
Sure. So there's the type of transfers that I referenced before when I was going through the slides were operating transfers. And so, for example, Beta does not have an independent funding source. So Beta is operated by an operating transfer, which is literally taking monies from the general fund of $600,000 and transferring them to the Beta fund for their operations. Both general fund and Bama transfer to Beta to fund that operations. And then another example would be that the E911 fund makes an operating transfer to the police department to help cover the cost of communications, but it is a operating transfer. It's specific for operations.
Okay. So it's actually different areas paying their way or their share of whatever that's going into, whether it's Bama or whatever.
It can be that, or it can be purely assistance from one fund to another. Because as I said, Beta does not have an ongoing regular revenue stream, and so it takes the contribution from the general fund in Bama to provide the operations for Beta.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just make another point is that by the voter approval in November of 2015, a total of about 68% of all general fund revenues have to be transferred to the police department. And then Mr. Cook mentioned 36 and some change and 30 and some change million went to those various funds to help fund the police department. So those are an example of additional transfers.
Transfer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
We also had a great presentation regarding utilities from the director, Tim Robbins. Both directors really covered both of their departments very thoroughly, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge all of the directors do a great job on their budget. They were the two that were picked this year, and Tim was very colorful in his presentation.
Yes.
Now I'll turn it back over to Tom.
Broken Arrow Municipal Authority, BAMA, the one that Tim had color about, has an FY26 total budget of $177,237,373, and that includes expenditures, transfers out, ending fund balance, capital outlay, and debt service. In FY25, that total budget was $200.6 million. It's an overall decrease of 11.6 from last year, but with a 35.9% decrease in capital outlay and an 8.36% increase in operating costs, reserve fund balance, and debt service. And so at first glance, it might give one some hesitation, but what that tells me when I look at that is that we were able to expend a lot of the proceeds of our previous year's loan programs last year in capital outlay. The BAMA budget highlights, a rate increase will be necessary to pay for ongoing operations and planned capital improvements and our OWRB debt service. The rates will be discussed later in the summer on a discussion of the manual of fees. The BAMA budget includes $8.6 million in pay-as-you-go capital, and then there are proposed additional new OWRB projects of $24.9 million, and then existing OWRB projects of $24.5 million. So our total OWRB projects budgeted in FY26 is just under $50 million. For BAMA, personnel is $28.2 million. Other services and charges is $21.8 million, and materials is $8 million. So total operating expenses of $58.1 million. Debt service is just under $14 million, and transfers out is $24.2 million. And the BAMA is listed in section 3 of the budget book, and you can see the pages that the department's specific budgets and detail are listed on. And BAMA's pay-as-you-go capital begins on page 41 of section 3 and runs through page 47.
Thank you, Tom. Just to finish things up, we also make a presentation to the council as a part of the workshop on the general obligation bond funds that we're recommending to be sold as a part of the budget, and that list is actually in section 4 on pages 60 to 71. Council will tentatively approve that list. The final list actually will come to you sometime in September. It'll be after we receive the assessment to know exactly how much we'll have available. We're anticipating that we will have approximately $17 million available to sell from the 2018 general obligation bond package this year. But did want to mention is that right now we currently have approximately $100 million in projects from 2011, 2014, and the 2018 general obligation bond package in the construction cycle. Once again, $17 million is proposed for this year. And I wanted to mention with that sell from the 2018 bond obligation that the voters approved, we will have sold right at $192 million of the total $210 million authorization. As council knows, I've been updating you at each meeting about the initiative that we're currently in for the 2026 bond initiative. two-year initiative that right smack dab in the middle in terms of looking and vetting projects. And so I wanted to mention this. I'll have an update a little bit later in this section just to let the council know where we're at. But it's very exciting that we're actually working on this, and the hard work at the council begins later this month and will actually run all the way through January when you go through the process of selecting which projects will make the final list in the various propositions that voters will consider on April 7th of 2026. In a recap, I want to thank Tom for helping me with this presentation. The proposed budget for this year is $455,957,612. Overall, for all funds, it represents a 3.44 decrease over last year's or the current year's spending plan. This spending plan represents the funding needed to provide the services and capital projects we in Broken Arrow need to maintain a great quality of life, which is council's #1 priority. At this time, I'd like to actually recognize Finance Director Cindy Arnold, also Tom Cook from Finance, Tara Kilpatrick, and the entire finance staff, because a lot of heavy lifting putting the document. It's not only heavy itself, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. All the department directors work very hard on their budget and their staff, and then mention Cricket Moore and Lori Hill for all of their help in putting everything together. And this time, I'm glad to answer any questions from the council.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, a follow-up comment about the workshop that we had. It was great. Staff made great presentations. Questions were asked, and it helps us really understand what the budget is. So tonight's certainly not the first time that we've seen the budget. I will say also, this city manager, I hate to compliment him with him in the room, but his executive summary is just tremendous. Once you read those pages through there, it really has you understanding of the budget process and our particular budget. So he does a great job of doing that, and I compliment him for it when you guys see him.
Yes.
That's all I have, Mayor. Actually, at the next meeting on the 16th, it will be the final adoption. That's when the mayor will ask for questions, and then we'll be able to answer or get back to any question we may have. But it's now in your hands for consideration this evening, as well as for consideration of adoption in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
You actually do need to
Open
conduct
it
the
up for a
public hearing.
public,
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to do a motion to open up for, or I can just
You
call
can just
it?
announce it. Here.
We're going to open up for a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Third time. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? Oh, okay. Come on down, sir.
William Cope, Vice Mayor, Councilors. I live in the Indian Springs District. I'll be speaking on a couple issues, but just curious. We put out bonds. I noticed you, was it 46 million in debt service, 42 million in debt service this year?
Proposed, yes.
Why? I mean, can we not just collect the property tax and then just pay for it as we go?
No,
Or is that a, this is just a general question, because I,
Great question. So that 42 million represents the total amount of debt repayment we have, which consists of really two areas. Number one, it consists of bonds that the voters have approved, and by Constitution, we can only issue general obligation bonds when the voters approve those. Okay, and then whenever we go to OWRB, for example, to do projects for the BAMA, the utilities, basically water and sewer specifically, we go in there and we can actually go through the city and through BAMA, and we can issue those bonds because we're an authority. So that $42 million represents all of our debt service for the upcoming fiscal year. But in most cases, when it comes to general obligation bonds and things of that nature, we just can't do that without, by Constitution, without actually going to the voters, putting it on a measure, having propositions that specifically list the projects to where it basically, real simple, that any reasonable person could actually read what they're voting on. Without that, you can't.
so it's a constitutional issue with the state of Oklahoma on how property taxes can be spent
Yes, for municipalities.
in municipalities? Okay. That's all, Mike.
Great question.
Thank you. All right. Closing the public hearing. Thank you, Tom. Item 8B, presentation and annual programming update by Broken Arrow Seniors, Lori Hill.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. I'm getting ready to introduce two ladies that I've really enjoyed getting to know and work with over the past 2 years. As part of our user group annual use agreements, part of that requirement is for them to come and present an annual update. And so what I'll do is I'll introduce Kim Crenshaw with Broken Arrow Seniors, and then immediately after her will be Jennifer Deal with Arts 302.
Okay.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and Mr. Spurgeon, it's great to see you today. And thanks for letting me present. There was a slide to make a little more visual. I gave it to Lori.
Do you need the clicker?
She's like, what's
Because I can bring it to you if you need it.
She just, it's like just one slide she sent to them, so if not. Oh, I don't even think they have it. Okay. Well, that's all right. No, don't worry about it. I was just going to give you an update on how the senior center's doing. Well, first of all, with the choir singing, there's just one sample of what's going on over there. We are just bursting at the seams. We are so proud of what's happening. Our annual membership, our active membership right now is just under 3,200, and that is updated daily with our check-in system and our renewal process. And right now, just for May, our average daily attendance was 546 people per day are crossing our thresholds between the two buildings. And that is only because Fridays bring us down because there's only 456. We are now crossing well over 600 people per day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we've been very proud of that. And our programming has now expanded to over 115 classes and activities per week. So we are definitely seeing an interest there, and that our seniors here in Broken Arrow are thriving, and they are seeking this out. I feel like I'm in high school when the bell rings and class lets out with all that. I can't even get a parking place these days. So, but beyond that, our seniors are also participating in our community. They clocked over 24,000 hours of volunteerism, either in the center or in our community this year. So whether that was Safety Spooktacular, Camp Bandage, Rooster Days, our folks are out there, they are now even more than ever a part of our community and giving back to that community, and we are so proud of that. In addition, with our partnership with the Tulsa and Creek County Nutrition Program, we are seeing quite a rise in meals that are served. We did serve 24,256 meals in 2024. That's an increase over 17,000 in the prior year, and we do see that increasing. Those numbers are down right now because of our kitchen renovation, but prior to that, we were averaging between 102 and 107 seniors who were participating in the nutrition program. Of a good note, speaking of budgets, 85% of those who are attending the senior center are Broken Arrow residents. And so we've been able to keep our annual membership fee just to $40 a year for them to participate in all activities, no additional cost. And then those outside, whether they be Wagner County, Tulsa County, we are pulling even as far as Manford, Veneta. They may only come once a week. They find the one day they really like, because as we are growing and our services are growing, we're seeing many of our neighboring smaller towns seeing those services shrink. So it is great that we were able to provide that. Oh, and of note, we were voted the Chamber of Commerce 2024 Nonprofit of the Year, which we are very proud about. We've been fighting for that for quite a while. And then lastly, in terms of 2025, there's been a lot of demand for after-hours programming so we can start serving our working seniors. We did a pilot program with just one class in May, and it averaged over 50 attendees. each class, and it was hula dancing. So who knew?
Yeah.
People did even join the senior center just to participate in that class. And so effective tomorrow, we will be extending our programming till 7 p.m. on both Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so it's at this point, it is a blend of Pilates and yoga instructors, as well as different dance workshops. And there has been a request for a belly dance instructor, and it is happening. So our seniors still like to have fun and
Yes.
find things that they wouldn't normally get to do. And then also with that, we are starting in August, we will begin the programming for a memory cafe. So we can start serving those families and spouses and children and persons who are diagnosed with early stage dementia with specialty programming. So we are trying to reach more and more seniors every day and with all their very specific needs. So
What's happening June 21st?
didn't want to do that shameless plug with the hula dancing thing. We are having our second largest fundraiser, which is the Founders Day Luau, and sitting amongst us in front of me, Vice Mayor, is one of those founders of the Broken Arrow Senior Center in 1988. And so tickets are still available. You can find those on our website at baseniors.org.
Yes, and it was lots of fun. Last year was the first year, and it was a blast. I did not go down the water slide, though. I will not be going down the water slide this year either. But I know, never say never, but
Stranger things have
pretty sure,
happened.
I know.
We did get you hula dancing.
If we could
so.
raise enough
I did
money
hula
for
dance,
there.
though. Yes, I did hula dance, so.
So any questions at all?
Kim is a pleasure to work with, and she's on the internal advisory committee for the bond package, and she always says great things, not only about the senior center, but she's a true community person that wants what's best for Broken Arrow, and I'm thankful that you're a part of it, Kim.
Well, thank you. I love being a part of it, and thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
I really believe this is one reason why we are the #1 most livable city in Broken Arrow and 12th in the nation. And it's my honor to be the board chair this year. And it's really nice working with you, Kim. Your heart is definitely for the seniors, and quality of life matters, and it's important to all of us. And so we appreciate that.
Our seniors have so much to offer and to be seen and heard and to participate in this community still. So
I had
thank
the
you.
opportunity a couple of weeks ago for Kim to give me a tour of the senior center. And when you think about the quality of life that we have in Broken Arrow, you definitely think about the seniors. And it was amazing to see what Kim has there for the seniors and the number and the smiles and the activities. And it's just wonderful to see. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Jennifer Dill, do you have hula dancers at your place?
Collaborate.
Yes.
We are talking about doing some collaborating on an Oklahoma Arts Council grant. They have a creative aging grant. So her classes are free. So I can't quite compete with that with the seniors. So I'm hoping maybe that grant will give us some opportunities. I'm going to share a little bit of information with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
So my slides aren't up either, but that's okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit. We do so many things at the Art Center. I feel like I'm juggling 10 million balls every day and always worrying that I don't drop one. And so it's complicated to talk about all that we do. So first of all, our art classes and education. We feel like we are getting to a point where we're really starting to nail down what the community wants. I'm excited that we looked over the summer schedule and there's only 3 classes that are not going to make. So, normally we've had a few more than that. So I'm excited. I think we're really tapping in. Thanks to Caleb. Those of you that have met Caleb, he's pretty incredible. But I think we're really tapping into what the community wants from us. In addition to that, we've had a 14% increase in unique people that engage with our classes. So I think that's pretty exciting. And in addition to that, our revenue not is up 8%. So I was excited to see those numbers because that's kind of my goal this year, is to really, now that we're nailing what we're offering, how do we figure out what those income streams are that make sure that we get to stay open forever and ever and ever and continue to serve the community. So we also do art parties and rentals. And I think we probably have almost doubled what we brought in last year. We hired an administrative assistant, and that's one of the things that she tackled, and it has made a huge difference because we have all sorts of people. We're supposed to have a party tomorrow night for the Hilton crowd for their staff, but it looks like we're going to reschedule because we might get a little bit of weather tomorrow night, possibly. And then we also have a wedding Saturday night. So we have a group coming into a wedding reception. Oh, wow. So I'm really excited. You just never know what's going to pop up. And that is a revenue stream that is absolutely amazing. So it feels like free money. It's not quite, because it's a lot of work to make to pull those off. But I'm excited about that. Our arts camps are moving along. We have 2 camps, I think, that we haven't sold out yet. So it's pretty exciting. We have a Glow camp coming up, and the Glow camp has been sold out, and we keep having people get on the wait list. I hate to break their hearts, but if the wait list is really long at this point, it's not going to happen. So I'll talk to Lori. The end of our camps, on the Friday of every camp, we always do a showcase of what they've done during the camp. And so I'll make sure that you guys get invitations to those showcases. So if you have time to come and see what the kids have done, we do a reception where we have cookies and punch and those kinds of things, and lots of fun. The kids feel like real artists. Yeah. I did want to talk about some statewide attention that we're getting, because I'm pretty proud of that. We're becoming more and more known within the Tulsa area, definitely. I think I've talked to Mr. Spurgeon before about the first Friday art crawl that happens down in the Greenwood area. Well, we have people that are starting to know us and add us to their list of places they visit on that first Friday. I've talked to Mr. Spurgeon about maybe the possibility that we need to organize some kind of arts crawl that would happen in Broken Arrow. We have the new Glaze place that just went in downtown. If you haven't seen, their front windows are incredible, and I talked to them today. So I think it's something to I'm just going to drop that in so you can be pondering that. But I think that would be a great way for us to potentially get some really, really good traffic one day a month that's all about the arts. Edmond has a similar program that's just gets it's downtown is hopping. That particular, it's a Thursday, so we'll keep thinking about
maybe
that.
kind of like the wine walk. Maybe the chamber wants to do an art walk on.
Yeah,
you're welcome. You're welcome, James.
Could be could happen. So, but in addition to that, local attention. The Oklahoma Arts Council had one of their last board meetings. I think they do either 2 a year or 4 a year. I'm not sure which, but they reached out to us and they had one of their board meetings. So we had people that are interested in the arts from all over the state. They have about a 20-person board that came in and got to see the building. They took a tour of the Broken Arrow PAC, and they took a tour, a gander around our place. So, and they were very, very excited. And I brag on you guys, because there are not very many communities that have your building use agreement that makes it possible for us to be in that area, and chose to put us in that downtown area. So people walk in and they're just in awe. You mean Broken Arrow built this for you guys? So it's pretty cool. In addition to that, we have, and I think I left my magazine. I gave you a copy of an article. There is an organization called the Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition. It's a statewide arts organization. We were in their spring issue. So they talked about the show that we just took down today, and they also talked about just us in general. So it's a statewide magazine, and it was a 4-page article all about us and how amazing our space is. So that's pretty cool. And then the last thing, for any of you that have been in my front door and have gotten to meet Abby, really tall, wears all black, sweet as can be, but she has participated in the Oklahoma Arts Council program called Leadership Arts, and she has traveled all over the state of Oklahoma in the last year and got to visit other communities, see what they are doing, and network with people. And it's hard to get into that program, so I was so excited that she got in the first year. So, talk a little bit about shows that we have coming up. I know I'm only supposed to take 5 minutes. It's hard. There's too much to talk about. So we have a new show going up tomorrow. It's Alpha Rotah. It's an artist group from Tulsa, but I'm most excited probably about our 5x5 show. Our 5x5 show will be in August. It's a fundraiser for us, and it's 5x5 paintings that are donated by artists. We sell them for $55. The opening, I think, is on the 12th of July or of August. But it's packed. We will have wall-to-wall people in there fighting over whichever piece that they want to buy, because we'll probably have about 200 pieces of art up. And everyone can, you can afford a $55 piece of art. You should come. It's pretty cool. We'll have a DJ, all sorts of stuff going on that night. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that we have our fundraiser coming up. The Mimosas on Main event is moving. It's going to be Mimosas off Main this year because we've outgrown our space. So we're going to be at the venue at Woodridge Ranch. We're hoping to double the number of people that can fit into our space. We're really, really excited about it. We've hired a new development director who is helping us with fundraising. He's only been there 3 weeks, but he is just off and running. So I would expect that tickets will go on sale and sponsorships will go on sale sometime in the next couple of weeks. But we also have an event called Martinis on Main that you guys will all get an invitation to. That's for donors that help all of Arts OK. So Tuesdays in the Park and Chalk It Up and the Spotlight Series and Mimosas. So that I get to keep that one in my house. Yes. So I'm looking forward to that, and it should be pretty fun. Any questions?
Oh, so much fun stuff.
Yeah. Looking forward to Tuesdays in the Park tomorrow, for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Hoping the storms will, yes. So,
stay away.
But yes, we've got a great crowd that we're going to have this year, and we'll have a different artist there each week, like we did last year, so that people get to experience what we do in our space too. So,
thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Item D is presentation regarding requested lane closure at the intersection of South Am Place and West Houston Street. Charlie Bright.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Spurgeon, and Trevor. As you guys know, the authority to do lane closures ultimately resides with Mr. Spurgeon, so we're not here asking for any action tonight, more just FYI, making you guys and the public aware of any significant closures we get on arterial roads. I'm actually going to talk about a couple because a new one just came in shortly, but very briefly, Elm Place, it's actually a project of ours that's going to cross, and we believe a couple of fiber optic lines are in the way under the road. In an attempt to avoid hitting them later, we're trying to get down into the manholes that are under the road and identify the exact depth of those lines right now. So it's potentially probably just a 1 day, maybe a 2 day actual lane closures on Elm. It's not going to be a full closure, but it could cause some delays, and we try to get in and out in between rush hours in that day, but it doesn't always work out. So just wanted you all on the council to be aware. Similarly, on Aspen Street over by the railroad tracks, it's kind of the opposite. It is a private work, and they believe one of our water lines is in the way under Aspen. Our water line runs under Aspen in this section. It's an old section, and they want to get in and actually pothole in the pavement to make sure they identify our water line in the hopes of preventing a problem later and hitting it under the road. And it's a very similar story. They're going to try to do it in between the rush hours, be out of there at the rush hour, but it will be a significant closure while it's done. But traffic should still be open in both directions. It might just shut down to one lane at a time. So happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item E is update on the 2026 obligation bond package.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention that later this month, council begins their review of all of the projects, and I'm very excited to present to the council number one. And secondly is that the organizations that have requested funding to be considered in the bond package will be there, such as you just heard from Arts 302, as well as the seniors, in addition to several other organizations. Plus, you will also have the sports organizations that will be attending. And so this will be council's first opportunity to actually hear from everyone who has made a request. And we'll also look at the other projects that have come from the surveys, conversations with our partners at the school district and the chamber, as well as from citizens, community groups, and HOAs that we visited with. And so that meeting is going to be an all-day event on June 18th, and we're looking forward to presenting it to the council. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, item 9 is citizens' opportunity to address the council. This item is available to citizens to speak on any subject not on the agenda but not related or related to city business. However, by state law, no action may be taken on this topic at this meeting. We have 2 people signed up to speak, and the first one is Mr. Koch.
William Koch, Broken Arrow, Indian Springs area. Mr. Spurgeon is smiling because he knows what I'm about to talk about.
I'm anticipating. I don't know, but
It says gate, so.
Gate, yes.
So, last year, city installed a gate at the back entrance of Indian Springs to stop traffic from the sports complex coming through the neighborhood. They close it on Friday, about 3 o'clock. They open it Monday morning. I know of one person that's run into the gate, at least one person. I know the fire trucks have had to cut the lock several times to make emergency calls. I don't see how this is improving the safety of the people, or the residents of Indian Springs, including mine or our kids, or anybody there. We, the residents of Indian Springs, did not cause this problem. If there is a traffic increase, as Mr. Spurgeon says there is, then the people that are breaking the law by using our neighborhood as a route to exit the sports complex should be taking care of it, not the taxpayers who are just trying to live their daily lives. So if there is a better option, rather than jeopardizing our safety and our response times for our emergency service, to have the sports complex, if they're the ones driving through our neighborhoods, have a fee to have somebody there to make sure that only the people that belong going through those gates do. And that's all I'm asking, is that we consider this, because we say, Mr. Spurgeon, that we have an increase of 250 cars on one day, but we close it for 3 or 2.5. And realistically, if Sunday is the busy day, according to your traffic studies, 250 cars, 10 hours, we're talking about 25 cars an hour. I haven't heard of anybody getting hit, but I have seen fire trucks have to cut the locks. I've seen the gates closed on rainy days, can't get out. You have to drive through the neighborhood. So now all the residents down here have to exit out the front. I don't believe this is the best option for the residents. You know, we talk about response times and emergency response times. I'm like, if it's your loved one laying on the floor and you've called 911, sorry, I guess I'm out of time. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I took some notes.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Allison Turpin. Well, that is the cute little baby I've been watching out the window there.
You have to speak one at a time.
Yeah, you can't be hard on me when I got him with me. Hi, my name's Allison. I'm a resident of Broken Arrow, and I was just concerned about the aluminum plant that's proposed to be built in Inola. And from what I understand, it's proceeding pretty quickly. And so I'm just concerned because if you draw a radius around the proposed site, which is the Port of Inola, East Broken Arrow is within a 10-mile radius of that location. And so I'm just concerned about it because of the effects that it would have on our energy bill and obviously health and pollution. And yeah, there just hasn't been one built in about 50 years. And so I think there's a lot of unknowns with what might happen with that. And so I'm just kind of wondering, just wanted to ask you guys if that's something that you plan on looking at in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's an item that's not on our agenda, so we
Oh,
can't
yeah,
address
okay,
it.
sure.
But yeah, but we can take down notes
Okay.
and make sure that it's on the record that it was asked about, so.
Okay.
We have been discussing some about it.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know exactly what all is going to be involved. We know it's not in Broken Arrow.
Yeah.
We
Right.
know it's across the river. I think it's where the nuclear plant was going to be built, Black Fox.
Yeah.
We fought that for about 10 years.
Right.
So it didn't go in there, but I think this has already been sold. But the staff is certainly pursuing that, looking into it, water, air, whatever, how it's affecting us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I had.
Well, he's darling. Keep me his little eyes. He's just making eyes at all of
I
us.
know, he's checking us all out.
Thank you, ma'am.
We will reach out to it's relatively new that this is actually something that's happened. And so, as the
Right.
Vice Mayor said, Economic Development Team will actually reach out and find out what we can about the development, because those are legitimate comments and concerns.
All right. Item 10 is general council business. Item 10A is consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the conditional plat for Spring Creek Crossing. Rocky Hinkle.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Rocky Hinkle, Community Development Director. PT 1984-2025 is a conditional final plat for Spring Creek Crossing, which proposes to have 132 lots on 36.99 acres. This property, which is located north of Tucson Street and west of 9th Street, has been approved for rezoning from A1 agricultural to RS4 single-family residential, along with PUD 1360-2024, subject to the property being platted. This preliminary plat was reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee on February 18th, 2025. The Planning Commission, in their meeting of February 27th, 2025, recommended approval with a 5-0 vote of this conditional final plat. Two citizens spoke to this item with general comments about landscape buffering and the construction process. At the April 15th, 2025 City Council meeting, this item was tabled to allow the developer to address a host of issues as it pertains to erosion control, capturing stormwater runoff, and general construction methods. On May 8th, 2025, several city officials met with adjacent property owners to discuss the stormwater issues at hand. It was made clear that there are two issues at hand. One is the dirty stormwater runoff. This issue is a construction issue. The property owner, developer, and its contractor are solely and collectively responsible to maintain the construction site in such a manner that does not allow sediment transport to be conveyed off of the developed property and damage to adjacent property owners. This is a code enforcement matter that Engineering Construction oversees through the State of Oklahoma General Permits OKR04 and OKR10. The city has required the property owner and its contractor to clean the public rights-of-way and to work out arrangements to address the adjacent property owners' issues in the South Fork subdivision. The second issue is a platting matter and is not connected to the first issue except for the fact that the property owner has elected to sod the slope of the properties along the eastern boundary of Spring Creek subdivision in order to reduce the stormwater runoff and sediment transport. Therefore, since the property owner and its contractor have complied with the proposed solution to remedy and mitigate the erosion of the soils and sediment transport of those soils into the neighboring subdivision, staff recommends approval of this item. If you also recall, part of this development required a traffic signal at the intersection. Attached are the NET set of plans for that traffic signal plan. At this time, I'd like to call the property owner or its representative to discuss some of the erosion control and construction methods that they have addressed.
But this still doesn't have anything to do with the, what's on the agenda as far as the conditional final plat.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Good evening. Excuse me. My name is Megan Pasco with Tanner Consulting, 5323 South Lewis Avenue. Tanner Consulting is the engineer of record on this project, and I'm here representing the developer. So since our last meeting, the developer, who is the landowner, and the contractor have been in almost constant communication with both city staff and the neighbors to alleviate some of the construction concerns that were raised by the neighbors. Since that meeting, we have implemented additional silt fence, additional rock check dams. We've looked at some different grading designs. So we've met with city staff several times, and so has the property owner. I hate to bore you with all the technical details of it, but in general, the property owner has been on site after every rain, taking pictures, meeting with the owners. Is there additional things that we need to do? So additional measures have been in place. Like I said, silt fence, check dams. We sodded those eastern slopes. We knew that installing that sod would help with erosion control measures. Right now, we're in the process of looking at the next phase of erosion control. So it's an ongoing process, and there's going to be lots of different stages within this. So I can answer any specific questions you guys may have, or yes, I can answer any questions you guys have.
I know we have a lot of citizens signed up to speak, so we may have you come back up after.
And I can take some notes and address their concerns as they.
All right, thank you.
Speak.
Okay, so we've got Gary, is it Benwood? Benuzzi. I was not even close. Benuzzi, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm opposed to the current situation, to the development the way it is right now. I've been a resident of Broken Arrow for 47 years, 24 of which have been in South Fork Estates. During that time, my wife and I have enjoyed the green belt that was behind our house, full of trees and vegetation. Since the development, that of course has been taken out, and I understand that's necessary. But since the development, well, before that, while we lived at our property on South Fork, water did drain from the greenbelt behind our house into our yard, and we have mitigated that with a French drain. We've always had nice clean water through there, very well kept, and we had no problem with it. Since the development has gone in, we've had copious amounts of muddy water flow into our backyard, cover our walkway pavers, our seating areas, and our flower beds that are along the fence. We still have about an inch thick of mud on our pavers. We have mud in our grass. We can't walk on our grass without sinking down into the mud. The developers have offered to clean it up, but we haven't gotten there yet because they need an estimate, which we will be providing at some point. But right now, the water flows into our backyard more than it ever has, much more than it ever has. Creates a lake in our backyard, then a river that flows north through our backyard and then under our front fence, down our side yard and into our neighbor's driveway. It goes down into the street and creates a lake in the street where the cul-de-sac is. It can't drain fast enough into the sewer without creating this huge lake, and it's all brown, muddy water. I would like to enjoy my backyard. I can't as it stands now because of all the mud and rain flow. If that can be stopped, I'm happy. I can get it cleaned up. Hopefully that'll do, but I'm not sure. The next rain will deposit more mud and water in my backyard and have to be cleaned up again. This berm that was created behind our house, since they've installed sod back there, the mud flow is mitigated a little bit, but not a whole lot. But during this last rain, the water was really so bad that we have a couple of wooden bridges in our backyard that I built. The rain flow, or the water flow, picked up those bridges and moved them down our yard to the other end, about 50 feet. So we had a huge lake, and we have a koi pond in our backyard up against our house. We're concerned that if this continues, that muddy water may flow into our koi pond and cause more damage. So we're hoping that this can be worked out some way that will prevent and stop this flow of mud and water into our yard. We just can't see how we should have to live with this situation as it is.
You shouldn't.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Brad Farnsworth?
Brad Farnsworth, 6317 South First Place, Broken Arrow. Thanks for a moment to come here. I actually wasn't planning to come tonight, but I do support the east side. I mean, the flooding is ridiculous on their side. I'm coming tonight because just before the council meeting, we had to stop a bulldozer from clearing all of the trees that are right around the retention pond. When I asked the guy why he's clearing the trees, because that in the agreement, they're not going to clear the trees. Those trees are to remain unless the utilities block it. When I asked him why he's clearing a 30-foot patch, I got a picture I'll show you in a minute, he said, well, they need to put in a new silk fence. And I said, you're clearing all 30 feet of trees and all of this is coming out? I mean, major trees are coming out to put in a fence? And we're not having that flooding on our side. We're not having any issues. And so I was able to get him to stop, and they're going to come out tomorrow, but I wanted to check to see why they're doing that. And it's my understanding the agreement is they're going to leave the bigger trees and only clear the small ones. And he came through with a bulldozer. I can show you a picture of that. The second thing I wanted to ask about too, though, tonight, and I want to show you the picture first. And I apologize, I don't have it to show you. I just literally took this like an hour ago. So I just want you to see it. So this is like the huge patch of trees. Like this thing was full of trees just hours before. There's no putting these trees back.
Right.
They're gone. And if me and a neighbor hadn't stepped in and seen it happening, they'd all been gone. And so I'm trying to figure out why they're doing that. The other thing is I wanted to find out why they're running the sewer line so close to our boundary line, and why they're not running it next to the residential section. Because if they run it next to the new development that's going in, the trees are already out, and they can just run the sewer line right down. But by the retention pond, it's all butted up against the neighbors' houses. By the way, this does not affect my house. This actually affects my neighbor's house. And I just told him I'd come up here tonight and I would speak to you about that. So I was wondering if you could address some of that and see what they can do about that, fixing that.
Yeah, I thought that in the PUD or the agreement that they wouldn't remove the trees within that buffer line.
I did
like
so.
a 50-foot buffer.
I do. I asked Rocky right before the meeting. It was this way. I was made aware of this about 10 after 6.
Right.
And so I asked Rocky, and Rocky, we also have representative from the developer here, so it might be, if you're inclined, on behalf of the council, to have Rocky speak, and then also maybe the developer.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd just like to see, I mean, I'm not for the approval of this, because I don't understand why the sewer line is so far off. It's why it's not running up next to the development where the trees have already been cleared. And they're going to have to clear all of the trees. I talked to the gentleman tonight that's running the sewer lines, and he said all of these trees are going to have to come out for the sewer line. And if they just move it, they won't have to take any trees out.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is this on the west side of the?
Yes, this is on the west side.
Rocky?
He is correct. There is a 50-foot landscape buffer on the west side, and they were to preserve the larger trees. However, based on his description, it sounds like the trees need to be removed for the location of the sewer line. But again, I'll let the developer's representative answer the engineering on that.
Is it, the sewer line's in that 50 foot, is that right?
I believe so.
Would we not have known that whenever we were looking at the original?
Not at the time.
Sites?
Not at the time of the preliminary plat. We didn't get into the engineering phases at that time. It's basically to lay out the lots
So
at that
on
time,
top-
and then after the preliminary plat, they get into the engineering phase.
If I may interrupt, can we bring up Megan to ask her a question?
Sure. Because I would think if there's a possibility of you not being able to keep the trees, then we should be informed that there is a possibility that trees could be removed for sewage lines or what have you, but I don't recall that happening.
Yeah, if I may. So is the sanitary sewer on the very far west side of the 50-foot green belt?
The sanitary, can we bring up, is it
Yes,
appropriate to
please.
bring up the
That'd
plat?
be great.
So for the section in the southwest corner of the site that's labeled Reserve A, where one of the main detention ponds is.
Yes.
The sanitary sewer runs in the boundary
Right.
UE just for that section. It's
Okay.
it's just for that section of the pond. It then heads north and jogs east, and then runs in the backyards of the proposed lots. So
Okay.
the sanitary sewer is only on the property line for that short distance.
So, if I may, I see a block 4, is that lot 8, 9, and 10, way down in the corner? So it should be just along those 3 lots, yes, right there, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then it jogs back to the right in that little dashed easement?
Correct.
Okay. The reason why it's there is because of the detention pond on only those 3 lots, and then it goes back to the east side of actually outside of the buffer, I'm assuming, and into the properties.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why, I'm just curious why they have to have it 50 feet, why they have to move that far off their.
Is there, yeah. can we
Because
get
you
an
need the
explanation?
volume for the detention pond, I'm assuming, but that, Megan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be asking your question. Go ahead, Megan.
That's correct, for the volume for the detention pond. And in the PUD, there is language that there is for the 50-foot buffer, other than what trees are needed to be cleared for proper drainage or utilities.
So that language is in the PUD?
That's correct.
Can you address the trees that were removed that have nothing to do with the sewer line? That's what I showed you. The trees that were removed today had nothing to do with sewer, nothing. It was all for the silt fence.
Would you like me to address the comments, or I have taken pretty detailed notes and I can address everything at once, whatever council would feel appropriate?
Yeah, it's the same question as what he was asking, so.
Okay, I think several people have indicated, this issue just arose this afternoon. I was made aware of it in the last 30 minutes. So we have a meeting scheduled on site tomorrow morning with the developer to discuss this. Tanner Consulting did stake the grading limits of this before construction started. So we know that the grading limits have been marked, but again, I can't speak to specific trees that were removed until we go out on site and look at it.
How big is that detention area? How much room is it going to take up?
It's approximately, that labels for the whole reserve area, so I'd say it's around 2 acres.
Yeah.
So Megan, can I have a question, Mayor?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the meeting tomorrow morning that you're having? I need clarification.
That was as soon as
What's the purpose of the meeting? I'm
Oh.
glad you're meeting so quickly. Thank you.
So there was an issue raised by the neighbor that the neighbor has a concern, so we want to go see on site his concern to see what he's talking about. So we can't know exactly till we check it out ourselves.
Okay.
Well, on the floodwaters, and I think this is what we got a video of, right? And pictures of where, like, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I am not
I've
happy.
never seen anything like
Yeah,
that.
it was horrible. If I lived in that house, I would not be happy either. I'd be right here giving y'all the what for. I really don't like how this whole process has been. Seems like it's problem after problem after problem. And I feel bad for the residents, and I think we need to do right by them, the ones that are already there. And I don't know what that answer is. I'm not an engineer, but it's sure not wiping out all the trees. To me, that just causes more problems with the water runoff and that type of thing. But I'm not happy with this whole situation. I'm glad you're meeting tomorrow, but I mean, the trees are gone at this point. Don't know how you're going to get them back there.
And the flooding area that we've been looking at is on the east side, is not on this side, correct?
Correct.
Well, there's been flooding in the 50-foot easement. There has been flooding, not in the homes, but in the 50-foot easement. There's been flooding, yes.
Okay. All right. We've got more. Yep, thank you. Dustin Fletcher.
Who's got that video? Where's my video guy? So this is a video. So I was here last time, and here's a newest version of this video. This was last week taking. You can see the dirt, obviously, from that and from that sidewalk there. Still having
drainage issues from this development. As you come right here, this is the first neighborhood on that left-hand side. This is my neighbor. And then as you come in a little bit more, the second house that you're about to see, that is my driveway. I get this every time it rains. You look up my driveway, you can see the dirt from the tires, from the kids, just an absolute disaster. And then you can see my retaining wall right here. You can see water that is coming down through there, grass not being grown. Now, this was a storm here just last week. This saw that they said that they was doing to fix all the problems. That is unacceptable right there.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is what my backyard looks like. I'm losing my fescue because all the ponding water from this. My debt counselors and even you, Mr. Spurgeon, never let this developer come back in dealing with this. Spurgeon, I appreciate it so much. Kenny appreciates it. They came out, they addressed our issues. Absolutely. Parks, you came out when I was here last time. I mean, you guys, there's no animosity towards you guys. Yeah, are we frustrated? Absolutely, because our property is getting flooded, and I don't know what this developer is not understanding. This is a major issue. This is a major issue that you are causing
Dustin,
in South Fork. I'm sorry.
Address that.
Well, it's, I don't get the opportunities. They want to come up here and play this violin that they care. They don't give a crap about us. You know how many times that the developer has been on my property? Zero. Absolutely zero. If they cared, I'm a business owner. Man, if I was doing damage to where I've got a job site going on, I'd be over there first thing the next day or that day. What's the problem? There's been no concern from this developer. I don't know what the answers is, but from our neighbors, South Fork, we love you guys. You guys are awesome. You're doing a phenomenal job, and you're our last help on this. No animosity towards you guys. But this developer, they're just trying to come in and make a buck for their own benefits. And at that cost, it's hurting us. So if we can put a stop to this and come up with a resolution, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jason Langley.
That was good. This one is suing us. We're suing the developer.
I apologize. Mr. Spurgeon, counselors, Mayor, Vice Mayor, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate those that have come out and viewed the issue firsthand. As it was left at the last meeting, the project was tabled to find resolution to the channeled runoff problem that is occurring from the development, causing adverse impact on our properties. The resolution idea was to have the hill sodded to simulate a more accurate absorption rate and slow the water flow. While I will continue to argue that improved and developed land should never be designed to channel and swell into a neighbor's property, these recommendations were followed by the developer. Approximately 8 days after the meeting, they sodded it. Here's a 10-second video clip after the sod and rock was placed, I believe, Dustin. Okay, well, you saw it from Dustin's.
Oh, right.
That's my driveway, and that's Mr. Benuzzi's driveway. You saw the thing, and then there's 2 pictures, if you would be so kind. Those defending this will say this is a torrential rain, so it doesn't matter. I say that if it's a sprinkle or it's a torrential rain, my driveway is not your drainage ditch. No concrete has been poured. This is the time to fix it. I've got water coming up through holes in my driveway, stacked stone popping off my driveway retaining wall, black mold growing inside my second garage on the concrete retaining wall, and after the heaviest rains, sitting water in the garage floor. I need help, I need support. I'm asking you to at least table this final plat design until there's time to come up with something. After the meeting that Mr. Spurgeon and staff were kind enough to come out for, one of the next steps was once sod is installed along the back slope of neighboring properties, erosion and sediment transport issues will be mitigated and the conditional final plat will move forward. I ask that these pictures be considered evidence that that has not been satisfied. The last thing I want to bring up, because I have a minute, I have not been able to get a clear answer on who on this council was able to approve a PUD change. You all remember how controversial this thing was to begin with. And one of the main things I remember one of the councilors speaking is PUDs are great because they allow the city to have a say. That was, would you, thank you, the file, not that one, down. There's one that has two of them. No, sir, that's the drainage. I'm sorry. The ones, is it DAC? Okay, Spring Creek Crossing. Okay, I screwed up then. I have the preliminary plat that you approved through PUD, and then I have the picture of what is being presented today. There is no record of you guys ever approving a PUD change. There was a difference of one lot. So 132 is what was presented to you with 3 detention ponds. That one was in this exact spot where this problem is happening. That detention pond was removed and houses put in its place. Ultimately, what I'm saying is we're asking that one lot be removed and that detention pond be put back. And no one can say why that change is okay, because that change, it's a PUD. So
Is that the proposed?
It is. I can address that.
Okay.
So Jason's correct. What you're seeing right there, I don't know if you can pull down to the top of that. I wrote up in the right-hand corner. Can you scoot it over a little bit? There you go. So that's the overall preliminary plat that was submitted to the city on June the 27th of 2024. So let's scoot back down a little bit. You see what's highlighted in yellow shows a detention pond. Now let me remind everybody, PUDs are for zoning, putting in a lot of the criteria. The engineering's not done at that point in time. These are showing engineering at this point. Now we're starting to show the engineering. So if you put a detention pond there and you capture all that stormwater, it's going to drain through Venusi's property because that's existing, and I can show you that here in a little bit. Now all of a sudden, what you're seeing, a lot of runoff, it'll go for hours. So I can let the engineer address it. They decided to move that detention pond to the north. And Megan, if you'd like to talk to that. I think you can go to the next slide. It may blow it up a little bit. There you go. Shows it a little closer. Megan, are you here?
But why would it be okay for it to flow on anyone else's property?
Because that's the natural drainage way, and I can show you that in another one. Water has to drain downhill, and it has to cross. If I could point to it. I'm gonna turn around and point. Excuse me. Sorry. It drains right there. You see those lines?
Okay. Yep.
And I'll show the audience here in a second. If I can get it. Those contour lines show 1 foot, it drops, and when you see that, that's kind of where it drains. So this water has to drain that way. It's drained that way forever. Before South Fork in 1992, before Spring Creek. So our ordinance matches federal government's FEMA, the NFIP 1968, when we joined later. We allow development, but only the pre-existing flow can go off, and it drains that way. And I'll have to pull up, if you can pull up the South Fork. So here's your 1992 plat from South Fork when they developed their subdivision. Our criteria of detention was in 1994. There's no detention pond in South Fork. Why were they allowed to increase runoff on the neighbors downstream? We didn't have a detention criteria at that point in time. You'll see here is Gary's lot, Janet Venusi's. There's a little swell running through there. Can you go to the next drawing? Here's their drainage area. Their record engineer designed the drainage for South Fork. That ridge line does not exist there. It's way back over here. This is way too small of a drainage area, but more importantly, you see this right here? When they point, that shows a creek, a drainage way, a swell. Go to the next drawing. This is our final grading plan, South Fork, 1992. You see those lines right there? That's Gary and Janet's property, Venusi's. Their house is right about here where the number 3 is. You see that swell, creek? Those bold lines, bold is new, dashed is existing. That developer regraded and filled in a creek. So where does that water go? When the next property owner, doesn't matter who it is, it could be you that buys that property. When you develop that property to the west, and where does your water go? It's got to go downstream. That's the way it drains. So if you'll go back to the Spring Creek, the other file, yeah. So if they put that detention pond there and they hold back water and it fills in like a bathtub, just like your bathtub drains, it's got to go out the plumbing. It's going to go downstream. It's going to go into Gary and Janet's property for hours and hours. So they moved it to the north. That way that drainage is only those lots. So if you can go, I don't know if I have I'll go, yeah, keep going. Perfect. So now all of a sudden, these lots are the only thing that drain that way instead of all of this. Can you go to the next slide? Keep going. Next slide. Here we go. And Jason, I think you had that one too. Let me do it this way. So this bold line, this dashed line, green line, sorry, right here, this is the drainage area that goes through that property. It's about 5 acres, 5.08 acres. When they get done, their engineer has rerouted it. It's going to be 2.16 acres. So they took almost 3 acres off in your storm sewer, in your streets, in front of the houses will now drain, collects, and goes to the north to the detention pond up here, so it's not going through Gary and Janet's yards. They're not quite there yet because it's not completely constructed. When it's completely constructed, it won't be that way. It'll be collected in the storm sewer in the front and then go to the north. So they're actually reducing the area to get back to the right flow. So that's where it stands right now. Go to the next slide. Well, hold on. You see all this yellow? That's basically where that, if you go to that far side, that straight line, that's probably about where the slope of the properties are that will drain to the east. Go to the next slide. That's all the stuff. Oh, I thought I had a blow up on it. On that drainage area, there's actually, oh, here you can see it. If you look from this point to that point, there's about 5 to 6 feet of drop, whether they build anything or not, existing. You couldn't see it with all the trees, you couldn't see it with the vegetation, but there's about 5 to 6 foot of drop if you come right out of the low spot and look due west. If you look at a 45-degree angle, that's that line. There you go, thank you. There's about 9 to 10 foot of drop. If you look at a 45-degree angle, that would be southwest, about 8 to 9 foot of drop. Go back to that one. If you look northwest, there's about 9 to 10 foot drop existing before they ever regraded it. There was a lot more drop on that side than you think. So the whole point of that is they're going to capture a lot of that water when they get done with that storm sewer. It's not built yet, I don't believe.
So what happens with all the destruction that's happening on South Fork's properties during the meantime?
So you have to separate two things. Stormwater, increase the flow, and sediment, the brown water, the dirty water. The construction contractor and the property owner are 100% responsible for, actually both, but 100% responsible for any sedimentation onto their neighbors' properties. They have to clean it, they have to address it with that property owner. Broken Arrow is involved but not involved. And the reason, and that's with everything, it's property owner, private property to private property owner. So the city can't come in here and say, you'll do this, you'll do that, you'll do this. We facilitate meetings with, you are required to clean up their property, but you have to come to terms with that property owner. So Gary and Janet have been great to work with. I appreciate them. They've allowed us in their backyard several times and showed us the concerns. I wouldn't like it if I was there. So the contractor, property owner, developer, Spring Creek, has to work with them and clean that up to their satisfaction. They've got to get to that point. And I think Gary came up and said they're working on that. So they're not there yet. They've added a lot more erosion control measures and sediment transport. The dirt can't leave their property. The increased stormwater, it did increase during construction. And I want to thank Tanner for working with us. We went back and started looking at it and said, I want to look at this in an intermediate condition, not just pre-developed, but post-developed. We are required pre-developed flow and post-developed flow must equal, or post-developed must be less. We actually took a look during construction and found out, yeah, they're right. There's some increased flows in it. So April the 28th, city staff came to the Drainage Advisory Committee and presented, you want to pull up that other one? I got one more. I've been out a while. I really appreciate you guys letting me come up. So we went to, staff brought the item before the Drainage Advisory Committee to present a potential solution. This is the same drawing that we just took. Go to the next one. So this is the area it drains again. I just kind of walked through that and forgot I had all of these slides. This is, now you're looking up is west. Here's the cul-de-sac. It drains right through. Well, now that they've built the house, Gary's home and the drives and stuff, it does actually turn over and go right down Jason's drive, just like he talked about, out into the cul-de-sac. That water is going to continue unless there's a solution. Turn to the next slide. Go to the next one. That just kind of shows the same thing. Is there one more? No, that's 4 more. So we brought before, and I can show it on this one. Because of the 2018 General Obligation Bond, Proposition 6, City of Broken Arrow being a leader in the state of Oklahoma, and the citizens supporting it, we voted in a drainage proposition that allows the city to spend taxpayer money on private property as long as there's a public benefit. I believe this equates to a public benefit. We brought a solution to the Drainage Advisory Committee. If I can get in that green belt on Spring Creek side, putting in an inlet and maybe regrading on the far west side of the green belt, capturing that water in a storm sewer, and then coming down, and it would be really Gary and Janet's Venusi's property, possibly into Jason's a little bit, and if you will, piping that water out all the way over to the inlet on the other side of the cul-de-sac. Over here. We would pipe it the whole way. So we're collecting that runoff and piping it through. Probably about a 24-inch pipe. We haven't designed it, but what the recommendation is to bring to council to hire an engineer to design that system, and then we could potentially construct it. That's the solution. That's the solution. The dirty water, the contractor's got to fix it and address it with the property owners. The water will decrease once they get everything done, but there's still going to be water going through there. So can we collect it and take it out? That item is not before you. We put a hold on that item because of litigation. So the reason why, my recommendation to Mr. Spurgeon, and would be the same to the council, but council can take a different step. I recommended not moving forward on that Drainage Advisory Committee because of the litigation. The only reason why is because this is a civil suit. So if they had a jury, the jury would like to know what were the conditions? What did it look like? And I don't want to be in there changing all the conditions that all of a sudden they can't visualize it. It's very difficult to visualize drawings. Sure. So, like I said, there's 2 items. We do have something that we can bring before you. The plat is a separate issue. When you think about it, there's 3 things into developing a property. How do you subdivide your land? How do you subdivide it? Plat. You can do it separately, but mainly plat. The second thing is engineering, and the third thing is construction. The dirty stormwater is construction related. That's the contractor and the property owner. The increased stormwater is actually construction related, and once they get done, the design is fine. We've reviewed but the overall solution is putting in another system. So I know I've taken a lot of time, so I'll sit down.
So the final PUD.
I'm sorry?
The final PUD would not show that detention area in the center of the property. It will show it back up to the north, is that correct?
That's correct. So the PUD is a conceptual layout of how they think it's going to look, and they almost always change. But what you do in a PUD is you're getting the buffers. You're getting any other utility easements or any trees additional. Sometimes you get the frontage of the house, you want all brick. We got a signal. We got a signal. $400,000, $450,000 in the PUD. We actually had another agreement with that. So the PUD addresses zoning. The platting, which then follows, and engineering will address the other criteria. So, and I can let Megan talk to it if you want, but they realized that this water was going to continue to drain onto the Van Nuys's properties for extended period of time, hours. So that was their logic on why they wanted to collect it and reduce the drainage. So.
May I have like a 30-second follow-up?
Up to Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you guys trying to find a solution for this. I don't understand why taxpayer go-bond funds would go to fund a problem a developer created. That should be on the developer. That's just my thought. That being said, we're grateful that it's potentially an option. That being said, that creates an easement all the way up and down between our driveways that we would have to sign off on, and it would take out more of what's left of the 24 feet of buffer that's behind him, because most of it had to be removed because of the big pileup of dirt and 3-to-1 slope they put behind his property. Most of you have been out there and you saw the slope, and yes, the runoff will maybe reduce, but I'm not sure how that's possible because the final grading has been achieved and it's been sodded. So what you saw in that video is the result. So I'm not understanding why that. I've never talked about brown water. I've talked about water. And water, I don't see how, if it's already final, it's already set up to be what it's going to be, and anything from the new home building line back is going to be continuing to do what it does. So it's just, I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you. I'll go. You're fine.
Two great points. Sometimes you can't just solve the drainage issues without government's help, and I think this is one, because mathematically they're matching the flows. We had them run two different methods. Our criteria allows you to pick one. We made them run two different methods, and mathematically they are matching it. So from that perspective, they meet our criteria. But obviously the flow's getting there, and there's a lot. So the drainage solution that we talked about would be in the green belt for that particular portion. That's the difference. There's still a 50-foot green belt on either side of the Spring Creek. So this would collect it in the green belt and then take it out.
He does make a great point, though. Why should citizens' tax dollars have to go to fix a solution or be a solution for?
Totally agree. What we were going to do was sit down with the developer and see how much that they would participate. Absolutely.
We have one more speaker. Natalie Langley.
Good evening. It's been a long night. So we just had a lot of numbers, and I also enjoy looking at some numbers as much as the next person who likes details. There's been a lot of talk about the amount of water this year, and that it's a large amount. I would urge all of you to look at the Oklahoma Mesnet and look up and see how much water we've had year over year from January to now, and see if this is truly an exorbitant amount of water or if it's Oklahoma rains and it's spring. Our problems didn't start this beginning of this last month. They started in February with the first heavy rain. Everything was gone, and the water has been the same since that time. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So I looked it up. In the last 12 years, the last half of those years have been above average rains, including this year, if you want to call it that, according to the Oklahoma Mesonett's average rainfall per year. Year to date, we are only 1 inch above the last 2 years in how much rain has fallen from January to now. So with that said, and the amount of water that comes through, I mean, this is normal rains. It's Oklahoma for us. So to say that this is just abnormal and that it's going to get past it is not true. The other couple of things I'd like to ask is, so we've got sod back there now, but we have removed all topsoil that was able to absorb any of that water that did go down. Everything that's up there now is clay. We have burned it, we've taken it away. Anything below that sod is clay, and if any of you have ever had Bermuda on clay, it puddles, it soaks, it does exactly what you're seeing in our videos. It takes a long time for that topsoil to get to a point where it can absorb. So this is not even a quick solution once they're done with their building. It's going to take years, decades to get back to that point. So just laying sod up there is not feasible either. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I had questions after we had this. A lot of those drainage things are showing what South Fork has had to do to mitigate South Fork's water. South Fork's water was mitigated. It had an issue. Any issues it did have, it took care of. Any rain that came through was sheet flow, and it had the ability to soak into the ground and do what it needed to. It is now a ditch back behind there, and it's channeled water. And I would challenge that for hours we still have water that's in that area because it can't soak up into anything. So my last question is, why can't we take that and channel it down into the new drainage retention pond that's at the end towards the creek turnpike? Why is that not an issue or a solution? There's no houses down there.
A couple things to answer that. You potentially could. So again, what we're going to do with the DAC item that when we bring before you is actually hire an engineer. That would be an option that we could look at. So I agree that that's potential. I don't know the distance, but it is potential. Now, to address the rainfall, yeah, when you spread it out over 12 months, it doesn't look as bad. But April of 2025 was the most rainfall we've had in the history of Oklahoma on record. They announced last night on the news, so it was June 1st, that for a 60-day period, April and May, it was the most on record. It was right at 20 inches here in the Tulsa area. Some places in Oklahoma got over 24 inches in a 2-month period. On average, Oklahoma gets about 56 to 58 inches of rain over 12 months. So it is hit and miss. This has been a heavy rain season, but that doesn't make a difference. It's still the amount of water, so I agree with you. If you have a storm sewer picking that up, it will address that. And her topsoil comments are correct.
May I actually have the Mesonet. May I address for 30 seconds?
Sure.
Okay. The only thing I was going to say, our first issue that came up was in February, and February of this year we had 0.68 inches of rain. That was the very first issue, flooding rain, everything that we saw, and it was just heavy rain. In March, it was 2.26. April was 11.3, but our issues didn't start in April. They started in February with a far less amount of rain. So, thank you.
Thank you.
We should table.
Huh?
You know what council thoughts are. I can't recommend you.
So that drainage recommendation is on hold for now, is that
From
correct?
the Drainage Advisory Committee?
Yes, sir.
My recommendation to the city manager was to place it on hold due to the pending litigation. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think it's a viable solution, Vice Mayor, and I think that the hiring engineer to come up with the best solution is something that that contract, we will bring it before you sometime when Kenny recommends to me. But as far as tonight's application, I'd recommend you table this
That's
until.
what that's gonna be my motion, is to table this till we can figure it out.
And I won't bring this back until I'm satisfied.
So that was my
That's your motion?
yeah, that's my
Okay.
motion.
Thank you, Kenny.
So, do I need to, do you change it, Curtis, or how do I vote for the motion? Because I don't want to vote on to move forward on this.
You can just
Motion to table.
put your name.
Okay, motion
in
to
there
table,
like you
gotcha.
normally do.
And I
Reactions.
apologize to interrupt, but I would like to ask the city attorney, do I get a chance just to get a rebuttal on record before the vote?
Questions should be directed to the mayor, and it's up to the mayor on whether or not she
Yes.
wants to allow you to have more time.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start with, I absolutely, as the applicant, would request this item be tabled if you guys aren't comfortable with it. I do want to address some of the concerns we've had that we've heard, if that is appropriate and okay with you guys. I want to start with Mr. Schwab covered a lot of the stuff that I took notes on, so I'm not going to try not to repeat what he said, but I do want to touch on it because it's important. First of all, Tanner Consulting is the engineer of record. We do not drive bulldozers. We are not out there laying utility lines. The developer hires us to design engineering plans. We look at existing conditions and compare them with final conditions. As Mr. Schwab said, state law and city ordinances do not require us to look at intermediate conditions, but we have on this when working with city staff. So as I am here as a representative of the developer, I'm here also representing Tanner Consulting. So I want to be clear about what my responsibilities are and what the contractor's responsibilities are. This site, for the last 6 weeks, at least since I was here before you last, we have talked about it every day at Tanner Consulting. So I want to make it clear to you all that I wake up every day and I think about this. And I don't want there to be any concerns from you all thinking that I don't care or the company I work for doesn't care, because that's not true. Unfortunately, I'm only 28 and I have a lot of years left of working. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is important to us, and it's important to the developer too. I've met on site, the developer has met on site with neighbors numerous times, and if it is important to council, we're happy to provide dates and times and locations and names of people who are at that meeting, so we can show you that the developer and the contractor are out there meeting with people. As Mr. Benuzzi talked about, the developer is working with him and his wife to make sure their yard is cleaned up. It has not happened yet, but they are in active communications with Mr. Benuzzi. They're working on estimates, like he talked about, to get their yard cleaned up, and that will continue. I feel like I addressed Mr. Farnsworth's concerns about the tree clearing. Like I said, we will be out there tomorrow morning. I can't speak to if the wrong tree was removed or not until we just go look at it. That was something that arose this afternoon.
There wouldn't be a solution for that if the wrong trees were removed, right? I mean, like, you can't put back mature trees.
That's correct. I feel strongly in our process and the staking we do and the care we take to let contractors know where they should and shouldn't be working. And I suspect that this is in an area that Mr. Farnsworth didn't realize that there is utility work going on. But we have his contact information, and again, we can be in contact about
I
that.
just know there was just so much discussion about that buffer zone. when we
Right,
were-
and I was the one here a year ago, right? I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but it was me. I was up here, I was doing this, so I remember, and I know because I was an active part of it, and I can, as far as what I can do, we're going to look into it.
I am kind of shocked that the developer has not shown up.
That was my question, Mayor. I was
Yeah.
going to ask if I could ask a question.
And the representative for the developer is here. I feel like I've addressed some of this, but we can, let me get to the end of what I have to say, and then we'll get to that.
Okay.
As far as the runoff, I mean, again, Mr. Schwab really covered it. We have city staff and us, we have 6 or 7 licensed professional engineers at Tanner Consulting. We've all looked at this. Mr. Schwab's staff's looked at it. We are confident and comfortable with the engineering and technical decisions behind this. And it's sometimes like when it is difficult for me to work through it sometimes, and this is what I do for a living, 10 hours a day. It is a complicated process, and I don't say that to diminish anybody in this room. I'm saying it because I understand that it is a difficult process. At the end of the day, the biggest thing I want to make clear is Tanner Consulting's role in this, and we have been putting hours of time into this, both Tanner Consulting, Tulsa LDev, BR Heavy, who's the contractor. This is all a top priority for us, and I'm happy to provide meeting dates and any documentation you guys need to prove to you that this is a priority. So I can answer any questions you have, but I mostly just wanted to make sure that was on the record.
Oh, I did, Mayor. Megan, well done. I appreciate you separating out. Kenny, thank you very much. You know, I don't understand why the builder's not here. I respect the fact you're the developer's representative. You've got some folks that have some real pain, okay? And I've had to meet with those folks, and the council members have to heard from them. And, you know, it's very frustrating that you stand up here representing the developer and the person that's ultimately responsible isn't here. And so before I put this back on the agenda, I'm not putting it on until he can be here. And I do agree with Mr. Fletcher in the fact that this is a very poor representation for the private sector. And this council went out and actually voted to support this development, and it's been problems since the very beginning. And so I understand you're just a developer, but that developer needs to be here to hear these people, the same thing this council and I've had to hear. And so I'm asking you, you say you're in communication with every single day. I would like for that person to be here to have to hear it so they can, or he or whoever can address this council, because there's real frustration on everybody's part. And I appreciate your thinking about this 10 hours a day. I understand. And you spoke very well just now, and I give you credit for how you've gone through this process. But please, I'm just telling you, I'm not putting this back on the agenda until the builder is here. Not you. He needs to answer for the poor performance on his development.
And that is understood. I understand.
Okay.
And
I'm not asking for a yes or no. I'm just asking you to communicate. I'll be glad to give him a call. I'll be glad to have Kenny Swam give him a call. But the bottom line is, this council, on their behalf, I'm asking is that the builder be here that the next time to be able to address the questions of this council and those people that are affected negatively by this development. And I'm asking you to communicate that to it. I will communicate it as well.
Okay. Thank you.
My frustration is not at you, but you are the developer's representative this evening, and so you're the only person this governing body gets a chance to speak to, and the residents. Okay?
Yes, I understand.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to table this.
May I ask a point of clarification?
Kenny's got a question.
Yes.
If it's tabled, is the signal tabled too? Or do you want us to continue moving forward on the signal? Because I think it's tied to the plat. Just for point of clarification for me.
I would hold on the signal.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation to council.
To do what?
Hold on the signal.
So if I need to clarify, I will make a motion to table this, including the signal,
Yes,
until
ma'am.
further notice.
Okay, so the motion and the second stands.
Correct.
Okay. Roll call.
It's not giving us the voting.
It shows that you already voted. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Curtis is like, go. We're like,
Yeah.
there's nothing to go on.
Can't go. All right, item B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the comprehensive plan change for, is it Equitas Tucson Development? Rocky?
Thank you again, Mayor. Comp 2093-2025 is a request to change the comprehensive plan designation from levels 2, which is urban residential, and level 3, which is a transition area, to level 3 only, which is transitional area, and level 6, regional employment/commercial and greenway floodplain on approximately 11.72 acres, which is currently unplatted. The property is located approximately 1/8 mile south of Tucson and 1/2 mile west of Elm Place. The eastern portion of this property was approved by the City Council on July 19th, 2022 for RM zoning and with a PUD 340. PUD 340 and BAZ 2113 were approved subject to the property being platted. At this time, there have been no plats filed on the property. If the comprehensive plan amendment is approved and a PUD and rezoning applied for on this parcel, the previous zoning case and PUD would be abrogated. The applicant is requesting this change to the comprehensive plan for the purpose of developing the property for 3 separate uses divided by an area of floodplain. Pending approval of this amendment to the comprehensive plan, the applicant intends to submit a rezoning request to change the zoning to RM, residential multifamily, on the west, IL, industrial light towards the center of the property, and CH, commercial heavy, on the east, along with the PUD. The applicant has provided a draft PUD document showing conceptual plans and regulations for this development. Again, this is only a draft. This item was heard by the Planning Commission on May 22nd, 2025, and was approved with a 4-0 vote per staff recommendations. Staff recommended approval of Comp Plan 2093-2025, subject to the approval of a PUD similar in context being approved on the property and the property being platted. One neighboring resident provided a letter in opposition to this request. The concern included the possible reduction of green spaces around the flood zone and this project not being constructed on the property on the north side of Tucson Street. Staff recommends approval of the comp plan change per staff recommendations, and the property owner or its representative is here to address any questions you may have.
Any questions or concerns?
So one person had written a letter against it.
Correct.
It was about green space.
Green
removal of
space and why it wasn't on the north side of Tucson Street.
Well, they don't own that property on that side. Okay.
They indicate how many, since it's multifamily, how many, or multi-units, how many they're wanting to put on there?
Right now, they're proposing 68 units, but again, when we get into later phases in the rezoning phase and then to the platting and engineering, that number can change.
Any further discussion or questions?
I do not.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call. Okay. Item C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of PUD 2040-2025, rezoning for Plaza at Forest Ridge.
Thank you again, Mayor. PUD 2040-2025 and BAZ 2088-2025 involves approximately 17 acres, which is currently unplatted. The property is located on South Kenosha Street and 1/2 mile east of Oneida Road. PUD 2040-2025 is requested to facilitate the development of a town center mixed-use type development. The property abutting Kenosha Street is proposed to be rezoned to CG, Commercial General, to support more typical commercial uses, while the interior portion is proposed to be rezoned to CM, Commercial Mixed Use. CM zoning promotes the mix of uses desired by the developer while keeping appropriate limits in place to protect the residential homes to the south. PUD 2040-2025 outlines specific building criteria for the types of buildings to be constructed within each development area. The criteria for single-family attached and live-work units closely follow the established requirements for single-family development in the downtown residential overlay district. Multifamily residential development must be designed as side-by-side units that maintain a townhouse style of construction and must meet the same design requirements as the single-family attached and live-work units. In regards to parking, the mixed-use nature of the proposed development and the options for shared parking agreements Parking requirements throughout the development are reduced to 50% of what is required by the zoning ordinance based on the use of the structure. Parking may be specifically reserved for use by residents based on the number of bedrooms per unit. In addition, overflow parking is provided by the adjacent Forest Ridge Golf Club to the east. The property owner will address the parking and the 50% reduction in their presentation. Access and circulation to the development is primarily provided by Kenosha Street to the north. Circulation throughout the development will be provided through the use of private streets and access drives. Final plans for street and drives will be established during the platting phase of the development. PUD 2040-2025 was heard by the Planning Commission on May 22nd, 2025, where Planning Commission recommended approval with a 4-0 vote per staff recommendation with one additional request. The Planning Commission directed staff to work with the development team to ensure there is no adverse effect of adjoining properties as it relates to short-term rentals. As a result of these discussions, language has been added to the PUD document stating the short-term rental licenses within the boundaries of this PUD shall not affect licenses outside the boundaries of the PUD as it pertains to the 300-foot distance requirement. In essence, what they're requesting is that within their development, they want to waive the 300-foot short-term rental requirement. Planning Commission raised several questions. There was a question about existing trees abutting the neighboring subdivision. The property owner indicated that they would save as many trees as possible or would plant evergreen trees along the boundary if necessary. With respect to traffic, the property owner stated that a traffic signal will need to be installed or this project would not move forward. Additionally, the property owner mentioned the need to widen Kenosha Street to 5 lanes. Furthermore, the property owner discussed the desire to have a tunnel constructed under East Kenosha Street for golf carts, bicycles, and other small recreational vehicles. However, since the Planning Commission meeting on May 22nd, the property owner has removed this language from the proposed PUD. Lastly, there was a question about addressing potential noise issues for neighboring property owners. The property owner indicated that noise issue would be mitigated through planting of trees and increased landscape buffer. One neighboring resident spoke in opposition to this proposal. The concerns were primarily related to stormwater and flooding in the Covington Estates neighborhood. Staff recommends approval of PUD 2040-2025 per staff recommendations. At this time, Mayor, if I may, I'd like the property owner to come up. They have a PowerPoint presentation they want to provide.
Good evening, councilors, mayor, vice mayor, Mr. Spurgeon. I'd like to second to just throw up some exhibits and briefly talk through what we're trying to accomplish with this PUD, and then also reserve some time for questions for our whole team. So if we go to, do I have a clicker? Perfect. Okay. Start off, just want to introduce my team that's here with me tonight. I'm Davis Robson, Vice President Development and of the Robson Company's developer on the project. We have Katie O'Melia with TSW as our planner, Preston Bartley, the project engineer, and Kevin Mavers, my Director of Development Services. I also have a script, just so we keep it short. So,
thank you.
Let's see. Although at this phase we're only approving the allowed uses in the PUD, wanted to provide these exhibits just to showcase and help facilitate all the discussions around the project. So this concept plan in the PUD, as you can see, are divided into 3 specific areas. And as Rocky talked about earlier, the pad sites closest to Kenosha act as really our commercial gateway. So they have the highest visibility and therefore have the most promise for any national quick service tenants, but also have the flexibility for office, retail, or dining, and provide an avenue for tenant ownership versus leased out space. The middle zone, or mixed-use core, offers restaurant, dining, office, and residential. This will also be the main shopping and gathering area of the development and also surrounds the center green, which will be the main hub for events and gathering. Third development zone is around the southern border, and that's our residential corridor. And it provides easy access to all the shops and services, but also provides an excellent visual and noise buffer to the surrounding existing residential development. We wanted to plan that as proactively as possible, just to give the separation between any of the commercial uses and the existing development as a whole. Next couple slides are really concept designs at this point, but we'll give a good visual of what we're planning to put in. So, to start, this is our aerial blocking view. It doesn't have the detail of the next couple slides, but we'll give a good idea of just the scale and verticality in the development. This is our center green, so it's really the hub of the entire spot. So if we want to do any art walks, art displays, art shows, this is really where that will happen. It's also surrounded by the restaurant uses and provides a nice patio dining option area for kids to play around while parents have a drink or finish up a meal. And this is an example of our live-work units. Really, they're 2 to 2.5 stories, but have both living and commercial use. And the residential units that we're planning would be in the same vein, just without the commercial component. And with that, I'm going to bring up Katie to talk through zoning and PUD.
Great, thank you, Davis. Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. So I won't go into all this because I feel like we've said it a few times now, but again, we're seeking community mixed use, general commercial as part of the uses for this PUD. As you can see here, these are the areas, the development areas that was mentioned by Davis before. So development area B being the gateway, that's where the commercial pad sites for the restaurants would be. Specifically to this PUD, we have put in regulations in the PUD that require that even if there's a drive-through restaurant, that those be pedestrian oriented, meaning that the drive-throughs need to occur at the back of the building so that as people are walking along the sidewalks, they're not interacting with those drive-throughs and those access aisles. Development area A is what we would call the core. Again, this is where a majority of the mixed use is going to happen, a lot of the vitality and liveliness of the development. Obviously, you can see here, it's very intentional. The buildings, similar to your main street, right? They're pulled up right up to the sidewalk. The parking is behind, and that's all very intentional through the PUD regulations as well. And then development area C is what we call the transitional or the residential buffer. So that does provide a really good transition in density and uses between your existing residents behind the development and then the core itself. This exhibit shows just all of the green. So we talked about the community green space in the middle. There's actually the way that the streets are designed and required to be built in this PUD, they're very green themselves. Lots of street trees, lots of open space along the streets. This makes for a very nice, walkable, aesthetically pleasing environment. It's a safe environment, so that's really important to point out. And then the other two green spaces, which Preston will talk about the detention area a little bit more, but there is actually another large community green space in the townhome area where they face this garden space area. So there's a lot of great landscaping and additional items that we've built into this PUD that we feel like go above and beyond. So I'm going to have Preston come up and he's going to talk about utilities and infrastructure.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Spurgeon. I'm the civil engineer on the project, so just going to touch briefly on conceptually where we are at to date with the PUD. So first is kind of access and circulation. So the pink areas there are going to be private reserve streets that will be designed to public standards to serve the development. You'll have 3 points of entry, sidewalks throughout that will also connect to the nearby trails. And then we've looked at utilities conceptually as well. We have water in Kenosha Street. There's an existing sewer main in the back that we'll utilize, and then an existing public storm drain that we'll outfall our detention to that goes underground and offsite to so it doesn't affect any adjacent neighbors. To show this slide again, I wanted to touch really on kind of the detention area that you see in the southwest corner. So that'll be a dual functionality. It'll be utilized as green space, but it'll also be a dry detention pond to retain any water that, any increased runoff from the development, so it does not negatively impact any drainage on neighbors downstream. And then the community space over there to the east that Katie mentioned, that also will act as a dual-purpose dead-end fire lane. We've worked with the fire department, showed them this conceptual layout, and have gotten their initial buy-off on what we're trying to do here. There are a lot of kind of some amendments in the PUD that we are making to the zoning code as regarding to setbacks and lot sizes and such. So we wanted to show this exhibit to show kind of how the buildings fit on those lots, with the townhomes being single family, the attached version, I guess. They'll be subdivided down the shared wall on some of those, so that's where you get the really narrow lot sizes, and that's what is the reasoning for that. So I'll hand it over to Kevin to talk about public outreach and close it.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, councilors, and Mr. Spurgeon. And thank you, Preston, for the handoff. Okay. Prior to the Planning Commission meeting, we did the very responsible thing. We held not one, not two, but 3 public outreach meetings at the Glass Veranda at Forest Ridge. Over 150 people attended, interested residents, other parties that came by. The discussion was lively, to say the least, and actually very, very positive for the most part. People are very excited about what we're doing out here on the east side of Broken Arrow. People wanting to know how soon we're going to break ground, what types of businesses we're looking at, and how quickly we can be up and operational so that we can provide this level of project, this type of facility on the east side of town where none exists at this point in time. Now, there were 3 major concerns, though, that came out of those meetings, and I'm going to go ahead and address those because they were repeated. They were echoed by the Planning Commission, and they were echoed by the Community Development Director as well. Concern number 1 had to do with architecture, and specifically, will any of the national, local, or regional brands that we're trying to attract out here that are going to go on those pad sites out near Kenosha, will they be required to adhere to the architectural guidelines? Absolutely, positively, the answer is yes. Mr. Robson assured all the attendees at our meetings, assured the Planning Commission, and now we are assuring you as well, that we are going to build a cohesive development, and any local, regional, or national brands that come out here will be required to adhere to our architectural guidelines. We want a nice, cohesive, beautiful, walkable development. Concern number 2, because we are asking for a reduction in the traditional parking requirements, but we're also going to be holding special events on all of our green spaces, that's what they're there for, is will there be parking available for visitors that are attending the special events? And the answer to that is yes. In addition to the parking that you see on site, we are working out an agreement with the golf club immediately to the east. There are up to 200 parking spaces, depending on how we divide things up. And you'll see on one of the slides, actually, let me go ahead and advance the slides here. Oh, there we go. You'll see in the top right-hand corner there that we are going to be extending out a little further. Maybe I want to go this way. No, that's going the wrong way. Anyway, the top right-hand corner there, the northeast corner of the site, we are having a driveway. We're going to extend that through, and we'll have available additional parking. In addition to that, we're actually going to have valet areas as well. So if people don't want to drive all the way over there and walk all the way back, they'll have valet parking. We'll pick their cars up, we'll drop them off right in front of the buildings. The last concern was expressed by the Planning Commission themselves, and they were asking about extending the 50% reduction of parking to the pad sites out front. Okay? There's a concern with that because and why we're asking, we want to remind everybody that the 50% parking reduction request is neither arbitrary nor is capricious in any way. We studied the DROD. We studied it with extensively studied the New Orleans Town Center Master Plan. We actually included some sections from the New Orleans Master Plan, New Orleans Square Master Plan, in the PUD to show the parking justification and how we came about that 50% parking reduction. But the simple way of explaining it, the simplest way to explain it, is a mixed-use development is designed to attract different types of businesses that have different peak hours at different times of day. If we're lucky and we work everything out correctly, the best example I can give is if we attract let's say a regional brand, something like a First Watch out here, and they come out and they build a facility. First Watch primarily has their peak hours in the morning, early morning primarily, breakfast and into lunchtime. And they're sitting on one pad. They have a need for maybe 30 to 40 parking spaces in order to serve that facility. We go out and we find a second restaurant, maybe a dinner house, something that doesn't open until lunchtime, but they have a modest lunchtime crowd. Their peak hours are dinner and after hours. Okay? They maybe have a requirement for 30 or 40 parking spaces. You sit those two side by side, you put the parking in the middle, you let them utilize each other's parking space because the peak periods are at a different time of day. That's how you get to a 50% parking reduction. Now, granted, that is optimum, and what we've got shown here right now on our site is we are going to, just to give you an idea, we've already exceeded that parking minimum just in areas, the primary area A, development area A, and in development area C, the residential. In fact, we are parked at about 299 parking spaces right now in development area A, which is 78% of what would normally be required. We've actually got additional parking spaces. We are parked at 126% of what is required in development area C, the residential, because we've added 18 on-street parking spaces for visitors. Okay? In total, right now, we're sitting at about 85% parking. So we have 85% parking on site, and we haven't even started filling the place up. We have up to 200 parking spaces off-site. We have plenty of parking for special events, plenty of parking for the people that are going to come and they're going to be visited. And of course, there's the opportunity with the interconnectedness for people to use NEVs, golf carts, biking, walking. We're all interconnected. It's truly going to be an amazing venue, and we are seriously happy about it. Now, councilors, we've thrown a lot at you tonight. Okay, and we'd like to thank you so much for your kind attention and consideration of our proposal. We provided a lot of data to demonstrate that we put a tremendous amount of thought into this project. Okay, at this point in time, we're only asking, as has been repeated a couple of times before, for the zone change and approval of the PUD so that we can continue moving forward with all the engineering design guidelines. The team is available for questions, and we stand ready to hopefully answer any questions, cover any additional concerns you might have.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm excited. I live out there, so I'm super excited. Not in Forest Ridge, but I back right up to it. So this will be great to have another, have additional restaurants and such out there. Not everybody is thrilled with it though, because they think we live in the country, and it is nice and quiet out there. But I think it's pretty exciting, especially to have an entertainment and green space and such. I do have a concern. Is it backing up to? It backs up to Covington, right? Not to Forest Ridge.
Correct.
Okay.
Covington to the south.
Yeah, and so the concern with the water, that if it caused additional water runoff and such, that's obvious. I mean, obviously Covington has been, Davis, if you want to address that, but yeah.
Yes, so it does back up to Covington Estates. That is a primary concern of ours. So as we work through the hydrology, we'll make sure that there's no negative impact.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Well, I just have a question on, you're wanting to, you don't want to have to adhere to our short-term rental license. Would that be a problem, like in your neighborhood? Would you have a problem with them waiving that? Or this is just going to affect really just the people that know that you waived it to begin with, right? Like where they're living?
So the intent is, because it's more of a mixed use, kind of almost a downtown type of development, is that we would have the option to have short-term rental uses just for the residential component in the town center itself, but then not have the negative impact from the adjoining development, which is what we wanted to do by adding the where it was really just left out of the computation. I think the main concern was that we would take one of the short-term rental units away from one of the Covington Estates owners if they wanted to have a short-term rental. So that's why we held that clause out.
Would you have a problem with that living in your neighborhood with this clause being taken out? Like, would that be a neighborhood issue?
Our neighborhood probably would have an issue with it, yeah. Is that, that can't be, is that a deal breaker whenever you're looking at your design and what you guys are wanting to do?
So, and I can speak to the intent of why we wanted to hold some of those. We're going to retain ownership buy a block of those for the club itself and be able to offer just some
Like if people come in
remote kind
for-
of resort.
Yeah, if people come in for tournaments and
Right.
et cetera.
Mm-hmm. We've seen it as a use just because we do have a lot of homeowners around. So having an area that people could come in and stay for a weekend and pay was appealing.
It makes me think about what the units that are out at the Golf Club of Oklahoma. Is that kind of your thought process of?
A
like,
little
someone
bit,
who-
yeah. It's just
I know
it's.
those are more cabin-esque, whatever.
They
but-
are, yeah. And we are actually, this is a little bit future, but we are looking at doing some golf villas as well at some point. But it was a way to fill a need in the short term and to be able to add to portfolio.
So it's more of a controlled.
It would be controlled, yes. I mean, we wouldn't allow anybody to, I mean, we'd have rules and standards just like a lot of the other short-term rental units that you see around. Usually nowadays anyway, it wasn't really like this in the beginning, but they have strict enforcement of noise complaints and some other things just so it doesn't turn into a degraded property or anything like that. And if you saw the design of these houses out here, they're the neighbors wouldn't take real kindly to unruly behavior. So
I guess my concern is I don't want to call something it's not. If you have future plans to use it as something other than just a short-term rental, then let's just call it what it is. And I don't know. I mean, did any of the neighbors that you had those several meetings with have any issue with you wanting to change that or not adhere to that?
not the short-term rental piece of it, just because there's enough of a buffer between them and their houses, to be honest with you.
I have a question about, just a clarification on, and not that I have a problem, but the clarification on the parking. So within that, the confines of what we're looking at tonight, does it have adequate parking to meet what we would require in the city? Or are we reaching over to the golf course and using part of that parking also?
So we, there was a slide, but he switched through it pretty quickly. So let me go back and see if I can find it real quick. So this one here, it was in your packet. It's going to be hard to see on this screen. But currently we're parked at 83% of current zone standards. So what you see up here is 83% of per use what you would require in the zoning ordinance. We were asking for a waiver up to 50% depending on the eventual tenant mix that we get, as explained by Kevin a little earlier on just the different peak hour calculations. So as we go through this, we'll still have to go through site plan analysis, and we'll be working with staff just to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the amount of parking that's there.
Okay,
We don't want to cause an issue. I mean, we're going to have to
You're going
deal
to
with
be
the
the one that deals
blowback
with
on
it.
it.
You're
Yeah,
going to be the one that
that's
deals with it. It's not as if it's an adjoining separate property owner beside it. So,
and I've been to the shopping center at 61st and Yale too, and I do not necessarily want to replicate that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they'll come to you, but sometimes people come to us too.
Oh,
if
yeah.
we
Oh, well, they'll-
voted
No,
on
that's right.
something.
That's right. But I do think the intent, as far as having the flexibility depending on the eventual use and the different peak hours, specifically in this type of development, is justified. It allows for more space to be able to create more of a walkable center as well. And so I do agree with the intent and the use that's being requested.
you have any thoughts on it that you want to share?
I do, Mayor, and I appreciate members of council. I met with Davis 2 years ago last month, and he showed me this project. And it looks almost exactly like he showed me. And I was excited then, and I know there's a few things we need to work through. Davis is, I believe he's going to address this. He's made many investments in this community. He understands what is expected, I believe. And so his team gave a great presentation, and I am really excited, not as much as the mayor is, obviously, but, every property has its time. And we were talking about this 2 years ago, and now we're at this point. And so I'd like to at least have the council giving the recommend approval so we can go forward to the next steps. So.
Really big things coming. We have a quick trip, and now we've got a Brothers Hooligan or whatever restaurant. So
You may get a street light.
We'll
might
be,
get a street light.
we'll be competing with South Broken Arrow before you know
I
it.
know. No, not anytime soon. I don't think it's a slow roll.
I'll
out
make a
there, but-
motion, we approve the request.
Second.
We have a motion and a second roll call.
It does look nice.
It is.
It does look nice.
Thank you.
All right. Where was I? Item D, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute Resolution 1665. Tom Cook and Nate Ellis.
This item would need to be tabled until after the
Bama.
Bama.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to table it till, okay.
No, you
We
can
can
just
just
skip
go
it, and we'll come back.
Sorry, 1 second. Gotta make a note to go back to it. All right. Item E, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of authorization to execute Resolution 1667 for Hackberry Market TIF District. Hi again.
Hi. This one also would need to be tabled until after Beta took action.
You could have told me that earlier. Just kidding.
My apologies.
No, I'm kidding. All right. Item F, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute resolution number 1662. Jennifer Rush. Looking so ready for summertime. Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon, City Manager. I'm Jennifer Rush, Economic Development Director for the City of Broken Arrow. And this is a two-part agenda item, and so I'm just here to present on one part. And so basically the first part that I'm presenting on is the resolution itself, 1662, that authorizes the purchase and sales of a real estate agreement. And so I don't want to steal the thunder of Miss Amber, who's going to come up and present, but I do want to tell you that there have been several people throughout the years working on Arrow Forge and our innovation district and being able to provide a success to South Broken Arrow that I think will ultimately support jobs in the area, the retail in the area. And so we're very excited with the economic development agreement that Amber Miller, Vice President of Economic Development for the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation, will present to you now.
Yes. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Spurgeon, Mr. Dennis, and Mr. Green. Thank you for the opportunity to present this exciting economic development project, as we have spoken, Project Flight, which represents the expansion of CSI Aerospace Incorporated, a long-standing and valued employer in Broken Arrow for the last 34 years. Project Flight supports the long-term growth and innovation of CSI Aerospace. This company plans to fully relocate and expand into a 40,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility on 10 acres at Arrow Forge. This expansion will allow CSI to meet the increasing demand while reinforcing its role as a key contributor to the region's industrial base. Importantly, though, CSI Aerospace will be the anchor tenant of Arrow Forge Innovation District, something that has been a labor of love. Am I right? Our city's next major investment in economic development. The vision for Arrow Forge is to become a catalyst for growth in the aerospace sector, fostering a cluster of advanced manufacturers and innovators in one location. With CSI leading the way, we are positioning this district to be a hub for aerospace and advanced manufacturing excellence, a destination for new high-wage jobs, employment opportunities in Broken Arrow, and a driver for expanded infrastructure and commercial development in South Broken Arrow. So this project really helps activate the vision for Aero Forge as a long-term economic engine serving both the city as well as the broader region and state. CSI is committed to a total capital investment of over $6.1 million over 5 years, including $5.5 million for facility construction and $600,000 in new equipment and machinery. Additionally, this project will have a meaningful impact on employment, retaining 108 existing full-time jobs, adding approximately 50 new high-wage jobs created over 5 years, with an average wage of at least $50,000. So this strengthens our local workforce and grows our city's tax base while providing valuable career pathways in a high-tech sector. To support this project, it's recommended, we're seeking recommendation for approval for the performance-based incentives of a land grant, 10 acres at Aero Forge, a new jobs incentive, which is a tiered based ranging from $1,000 to $5,000 per job based on wages that would be capped at $500,000 total. And then a capital investment incentive, which includes reimbursement not to exceed $28,316 in city permitting fees, as well as expedited permitting to streamline the construction and reduce delays. So those incentives, like I said, are performance-based. CSI must deliver on job creation and capital investment benchmarks to receive that full benefit. And that really ensures a long-term return on investment for the city of Broken Arrow. Project Flight is truly more than just a business expansion. It's the beginning of a transformative district, as we know as Aero Forge. It secures skilled jobs, it draws new investment into South Broken Arrow, and helps us launch Aero Forge as a strategic center for aerospace growth and innovation. So on behalf of CSI Aerospace, I respectfully request your approval of the real estate agreement and economic development agreement for Project Flight. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Additionally, I have Mr. Andy Feely, the client here represented, should you have any specific questions for him. Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Very exciting.
It's exciting.
Sure is.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Waited a long time.
I'll second.
Great job, Amber.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I should vote on that. Sorry. All right, item 11, preview ordinances. 11A, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance amending Chapter 3.5, airports, ports, takeoffs, and landings of the Broken Arrow Code of Ordinances. Trevor.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, and Mr. Spurgeon. Currently, city ordinance allows the operation of helicopters at a permitted heliport at a site specifically authorized by City Council for temporary use, also to respond to emergencies involving a threat to human life or property, or for non-occurring events. The preview ordinance before you would then amend that to allow for the use of helicopters at a site of a property in Broken Arrow that's been authorized under a special use permit that we have drafted under Section 3.5-2.1. This came about at the request of Bryce Doyle. He's a lead pilot with CFI Tulsa Aviation Hub. Mr. Spurgeon requested I look at this and propose a new section that introduces a special use permit for commercial air tours. Basically what it does is it restricts eligibility for these special use permits to property owners within Broken Arrow. It requires a 300-foot buffer from adjacent properties. It also limits the hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and mandates that the property owner seeking the special use permit provide a posted notice on the property, as well as sending out notice to any property owners within 300 feet of the use that would be used for the helicopter. The permit would be valid for a single day. There'd be a cap of 6 permits per semi-annual period. And also, this process is streamlined to avoid council hearings for each application, so the city clerk or the designee would handle the approvals. That's it in a nutshell. I do believe Mr. Doyle may be present.
He's been patiently waiting.
And,
the whole time.
so at this point, I'd entertain any questions from the council, or if the mayor and the council would like to hear from Mr. Doyle, I would recommend the council
Yep.
entertain him as well.
Mr. Doyle, you want to come on up?
Mr. John.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, councilors, thank you for having me today. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
So I think Trevor did a great job. I didn't know if
He
you wanted
did.
to share anything with
did.
us, so.
He knocked
yeah.
it out of the park.
Yeah, he did. So.
He made my job here a lot easier.
I don't know, do you guys have any questions?
I've been talking to him off and on and brought it to Mr. Spurgeon to look at.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, no, we don't want we have like Christmas lights and up and down, and that's not what this is at all. So that's what I asked him. He may come, so just in case anyone needed any kind of clarification. But I'm totally in support of this.
And just for a little clarification, the FAA requires now that you have written permission from the landowner before you can even land a helicopter on a property. So the permit is basically our written permission that they would be coming to the city to get. So that's going to help us out.
I'll give you an example like he gave me. So he loads up a bunch of Easter eggs for a church in Broken Arrow.
First Baptist Church.
Yes, and drops them. But then he has to go all the way back to Tulsa to refill more Easter eggs to come then all the way back here to drop them again because we don't allow him to land and refill at the church. So this will help him with that.
And it's about 18,000 eggs.
Yeah, it's a lot of eggs.
We can only carry like 6 at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's when he told me that, I'm like, well, of course, we've got to have more eggs.
Yeah, we have to have more eggs.
To get more eggs. So we've got to make it easy for you.
Wait for more eggs.
So I would like to make a motion for approval.
Yes.
Of this.
Yes.
Just for a point of clarification, it is a preview ordinance at this
preview,
point,
okay.
so the motion would be to preview the ordinance and set for adoption.
Okay. That's what I meant.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Set for adoption, sorry, preview. All the things, sorry.
Thank you
Motion
all very
passes.
much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it.
That's awesome.
All right, ordinances. 12A, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of ordinance number 3848. Rocky?
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Mr. Spurgeon. Rezoning case BAZ 1788-2024 was a rezoning case from Ag to RM residential multifamily and PUD 1787-2024, which contained 12.32 acres and approved by the City Council on January 7, 2025. The City Council approved BAZ 1788-2024 and PUD 1878-2024 without condition. This ordinance and associated emergency clause was adopted by the City Council on January 21st, 2025. However, due to an outage at the Tulsa World, the ordinance was not published accordingly to state statute. Staff is asking that Council reapprove ordinance number 3848 and its subsequent emergency clause so it can be recorded properly. In your packet is the information from the Tulsa World.
I know this is a state law that we have to post this in the Tulsa World, but what happens when the Tulsa World's no longer here? In print?
Like Broken Arrow was no longer here.
Yeah. I know the legislature, I think they are working on it. I know we were with OML. That was one of the things that came up at our legislative thing, which doesn't really have a whole lot to do with this, but I'm just thinking eventually we're not going to be able to print, post that in a printed paper.
Well, we'd have to get with Trevor, and he would have to determine, based on what is available, what our obligation would be, because we'd have to provide some notice, and so we would follow whatever guidelines that we have to state law based on what is available for print.
And if I may, Mr. Spurgeon, it's a newspaper of general circulation, and so that's not really identified. So, I mean, if the Tulsa World went away, we would really have to look at what our options would be. I think the most direct option would be to petition the legislature to allow us to do some type of posting on the internet, whether through our website or blast emails. I think that's where everything has been moving. I think the city does a fantastic job of electronic communications, and so those would be more viable, future-oriented solutions.
Good lobbyists could help us with that.
And somebody probably see them then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He's not wrong.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 3848.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Gotta have my morning paper.
Not me.
Not me.
Allergic to the ink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All right, item B, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an emergency clause for ordinance 3848. Oh, move for emergency clause.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency clause.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, remarks and inquiries by governing body members. I was hoping Parker would still be here, but I think he already left. But one of our youth city council were out there, and he worked so hard to pass legislation to get a Broken Arrow Tigers license plate, and he got enough people, so we'll have a cool Broken Arrow license plate now. So.
He needed like 100 and he got like 148 or something, right? But boy,
At
it
the
was
last minute.
Yeah, it wasn't looking good there.
Yeah,
at the
I got the
end.
news to go out to him, yeah,
Yeah.
so it turned out good.
Huh.
There's a million things that are going on, coming up. Concerts in the park start tomorrow if it doesn't rain, hopefully, but that's why we're here today on Monday, is because, in June, we have concerts in the park on Tuesdays, and so that we can all take our families out there and be a part of the community, we changed them to Mondays. And so that will be happening. And then Flag Day, there's a Flag Day event that the Military History Center puts on June 14th every year. That's always amazing, and I wish more people would come out to it. No pressure, come out to it. And then we have a meet and greet on Wednesday at 6 to 8 p.m. It's in Ward 1, and it's going to be at the Broken Arrow Event Center, right? At the school. If you haven't been out there yet, it's your opportunity to come out and see the event center. It's really awesome. And then the block party is June 27th and 28th, which is also going to be amazing. So, oh, and the luau, but she mentioned the luau.
Yeah.
Did I hit them all? Did anybody
Think
else?
you did.
Anybody else have anything?
You covered a lot.
You want to talk about
All
where
on
we
my
just came back from?
So the mayor and I just came back from San Antonio for the Women in Municipal Government Conference. And there was about 60 people there, or 60 elected officials there, and it was a really good conference. What we're really excited about is bringing it to Broken Arrow next year, so.
Because Lisa will be our president for Women in Municipal Government at the national level next year, so.
Which
it's
that's
gonna
the
be pretty
perk, you get to
exciting.
have the conference in your hometown, so I'm like, yes.
We are already planning.
Yes, we are.
Amazing. So, anyone else? You guys didn't hang out with a big group of women this week? No? No.
Like, no.
No.
We did.
What?
We did. We did all week. So,
It rained the whole
we
time,
did.
but.
It did rain.
Two things, Mayor. Councilman Green had a work commitment this evening,
Yes.
was unable to attend, spoke to you, spoke to me, sends his regrets.
Pretty sure he's watching right now.
So he'll probably, is watching or he'll check out, so he sends his regrets that he could not make it tonight. We have a lot on the agenda still to go, so my only comment I want to make is that I want to thank, on behalf of the council, CSI for their commitment to Broken Arrow and their additional investment that you're going to be making. It was great to work with him, their leadership, and that's a huge investment they're going to be making, and to be the first in the Innovation District. And it seems like every time I turn around, I'm saying Amber this, Amber that. And Amber deserves a tremendous amount of credit. EDC, by contract, is the tip of the spear when it comes to the marketing, promotion, and recruitment for that with the assistance of the TED team. And so James and his team deserve a great deal of credit, specifically Amber, for the hard work. And for Amber, it just seems impossible is where she starts. And so I'm very thankful, Amber. And I'm thankful for the commitment of the company to continue to invest in Broken Arrow. So thank you very much, and can't wait till we're able to move forward with the project. That's all I have, Mayor.
Yep. So we do have a ton of executive session items, so I would entertain a motion to take a brief recess and go into BAMA.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Pickle.
Yes.
Green. Ford.
Yes.
Parks.
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Pickle.
Here.
Green. Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call. Item 5, public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, and awards. 5A, presentation of City of Broken Arrow Annual Solid Waste Program. Talk trash to us, Jerry.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, General Manager Spurgeon, City Attorney. I'm Jerry Schuber, your Solid Waste and Recycling Director, and I am very excited to be here tonight to tell you about our annual updates and some of the information that we've been doing. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation they're pulling up for me right now. There we go. All right. So first of all, I'd like to let you know that we've just only begun. We've really been working very diligently, and I want to tell you thank you for the team that you've entrusted me with. They have been amazing. Since my arrival, we've collected 290,888,000 pounds of trash, 31,428,000 pounds of recycling. We've completed 3 green waste studies indicating that our green waste composition is between 9 and 11%, depending on rain totals, of course. I'm sure this year it'll be a little higher. And then we've had attendance in every city event that's imaginable. We've educated tens of thousands of people on recycling, and the department has grown and receded as needed. Reclassing positions and even adding a few new employee classifications while reducing overall staff numbers, we have embodied the more with less mindset. You'll see on the program updates that we are pretty excited about our Trash Bash and Recycling Rally, and a lot of you have been participating in this. When I first got here in 21, we started to reimagine what it would look like if we did this twice a year. And then we also had elements of hard to recycle elements into this as well. And so we have created a program that is not only ahead of its time, but has now set the pace for other cities. They use our program as kind of the cookie cutter of how to do it correctly. So we've collected quite a bit of material that would have otherwise gone into the landfill. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on that. And I know that we've got a long night, so I'm going to try to speed through a little of this. So we've made a difference in the materials that we've removed. I mean, when you're talking about 7,800 pounds of car batteries, things that would have just sat in a garage or ended up possibly in our garbage stream, or 7,600 pounds of household batteries. These are the same types of things that start fires. So being able to be in front of all of that, and then you'll see the materials that I've listed there. The volunteers, the volunteer groups that we've had have been amazing. They've done over 60 miles with 611 different people, and their efforts have nested us about 563 bags. Sorry, this is where old man sets in, and I've got to put on glasses. 563 bags of trash and 141 bags of recyclables. This team has done impressive work, to say the least, and we really celebrate a community full of people who understand the value of keeping materials out of the landfill that would be harmful. And our residents really have embraced the adage that we are stewards of this land, and we appreciate that. So when I arrived in 2021, the team was struggling to get the work done. And for all of you who've been engaged in this, you know what kind of struggles we had. We needed a revamp of the routes for the particular equipment that we were employing. And when I got the call on April 1st from Mr. Spurgeon to say, or from Mr. Schwab to say that our recycling facility had burned to the ground in 21, I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good joke. But not so much. He wasn't joking. He was completely serious, and that was not an April Fool's. So the public was frustrated with the lack of progress for our programming, and they were frustrated with our setback. Assistant City Manager over operations, Mr. Schwab, and I started talking about it. And he said, what does the city need to get us back on task? And I said trucks and staff and rerouting to start. We discussed removing bags from the system at the time, but agreed the city had made some promises to work in the recycling program that needed to be our first focus. And to that, we took these items to the general manager and to the authority, who thankfully agreed and supported the efforts. And because of that, that year we added 5 new trucks, 2 new drivers, and all with your support. And internally, what you don't see behind the scenes is that we rerouted the entire city for efficiency, and we began to turn the timing around. So our newest addition is not live for anybody to have seen other than the folks who have gone to our website, because we did a soft rollout just to really test this. But what this is now when someone wants to schedule a bulky, they can actually go onto the city's website and schedule a bulky. They can grab a link that goes right to this site and allow, this is the backside, you're getting to see our dashboard in our office. It allows them to go directly to a bulky scheduler for their waste stream. And right now you see it 39% up there in the top left-hand corner. That's how many calls came in over the website versus what we normally take in phone calls. That number this morning was 55%. People have embraced this, and we haven't even rolled it out. We're getting people who are doing a bulky, scheduling a bulky at 2 o'clock in the morning or 9 p.m. on a Sunday because they can. Our biggest push is to make sure that we're accessible to our customers, and this helps us do that. We've been working towards those tools for a while now. So Mr. Spurgeon will always tell me it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So we flash forward 4 years. Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but I have been with the city now for 4 years. Yay. The route completion times bearing weather conditions, and obviously when we have freezes, we have something different going on, but route condition times have gone from 8:30 or sometimes later at night to just this last month we were at, for recycling we're at 4:17. So 4 p.m. we're finishing our routes. Recycling went from 1,390 tons our first short year to 5,235 tons last calendar year. And our recycling and education program went from tags on carts to attending any and all events they'll give us a table at. Anybody here who hasn't seen one of our teams at an event just wasn't paying attention. So we try to make sure we attend everything. We've done on average a farmer's market every 3 weeks, block parties, touch-a-trucks. We just did one last weekend. School carnivals, Camp Bandage, Rose Festivals, Environmental Expo, Ray Harold events, and we've even been at the Tulsa Zoo. We've done on average, we've replaced rear load equipment which was nearing its trash life with what you approved for us, which was another 12 side loaders. So we have really moved the needle. And then you've heard me say 800 stops is what we were typically getting with the 3 people and the rear load truck, and we have now moved that needle quite a bit to 2 people on those side loader trucks and really making a difference in our financial impact. Through attrition, we've also made adjustments to staff to add supervisors to routes, made training and safety a key function of our day, and added staff to the phones to meet the customer needs when they call. We added a landfill voucher for our customers, which allowed them more convenience for a free dump, changed our rate structure to adjust to the cost of doing business, and even reduced our staff numbers. I don't know that any other department was able to say we're giving back some people. The rate model was built, which included cost adjustments to the department like tipping fees, which went from when I started here, $13.55 a ton to $29.06 a ton. Steep increases in the cost of trucks, which are now running about $450,000, and increases in routing software and tech on board of the truck and labor and health insurance. Pretty much anything a business would feel as an increase is felt by the public level as well. So our business runs like a business, and when we have increases, we all feel it. But the race continues. So the future state of the department, our routes have been rerouted again. In the city this size, you should do that about every 18 months. We've done it now 3 times since I got here. prior to that, I don't think we did it, but 2019, when we started the routes.
That's right.
Rooftops are growing. I don't have to tell you that. Everybody behind me knows that because we're dealing with that on a regular basis. So the reason it's so important for us to reroute is we need to allocate resources as the city grows and make sure customers are not missed as we incorporate the more rooftops into our city. A prosperous and growing city requires a robust solid waste department to meet the needs. In 2021, the trash customers were roughly 36,500. I just saw the report this morning said they're 39,629. My report here has 39,489, which was last month. It went up 135 customers just this month. We've had a 9% plus growth in customers in just 4 years. We've also audited the customers to make sure if you have a cart, you're a customer. We had a few out there that had been receiving service for years and had not necessarily been noticed. And a lot of it had to do with just pick it up mentality. And we're good at that, but we want to pick it up and be financially responsible as well. So that's kind of my annual update. I don't have a whole lot more. So if you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
I don't really have a question. I have a couple of statements. So I'm on the Met Board. You all nominated me to be on the Met Board. And it's Tulsa area city, Tulsa and the area cities that go to that. And Jerry is highly respected at those meetings. I mean, people go to him for advice, and he really does us proud at those meetings. But then also, he was in Las Vegas for a conference, and weren't you a speaker nationally at that conference?
Yes,
too?
ma'am. That was. Thank you for the segue. I appreciate it. We were able to kind of showcase what Broken Arrow has done in the world of tech, but we were sitting on the stage with Los Angeles, Kansas City, Missouri, and Austin, Texas, and these were essentially what we would consider our co-workers in this effort. They're people that are doing something similar, and we've done excellent work. And I got to say, it's really I'm blessed to have a really good team who knows that I'm not trying to mislead them. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then I do have a question actually on our green waste. I was talking to someone today, and she heard that we were going to have another container for green waste, and I'm like, I don't want another container.
Oh,
So
I was looking at
are we doing that?
I was looking.
Yeah, actually, that's when you talk about the race continues.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things we need to discuss with council because obviously, when we first started this, Vice Mayor remembers we talked about having to crawl and then walk and then run, and I think we're somewhere between walking and running right now. And so the answer to that is that's our plan in terms of coming to the authority to talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
another container.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. Right now, we're asking all of our residents to buy plastic bags, clear plastic bags all the time. That would go away. You would have a mild inconvenience to have the other container, but you wouldn't have to go find clear plastic bags, and they're actually cleaner. I mean, you don't have to worry about them getting ripped or trashed.
I'm okay with change, and I'll be
Yeah.
okay with another container. I'm just going to start thinking now of how we're going to hide it
And you
behind the
wouldn't
fence.
use it.
Yeah,
You
the
wouldn't
third
use
one
it as
behind the
much as
fence.
the other two either.
Right.
I'm sorry, what was
You
that, sir?
wouldn't use that green waste container as much as you use the others. Now, when you used it, you might have it filled up, but then, in the middle of winter, you're not going to be using it.
That's correct, sir. It's seasonal. I mean, our green waste is very seasonal. We all know that a certain time of the year, everything kind of goes dormant. And so we got leaves towards November, December, and then from December until, March, April, we're waiting for it to grow back. And if it rains like it's been raining now, you can't even mow your lawn. So anyway.
We just remember to do that, we have to estimate how many carts we need, so we have to make that capital investment. And there may be some equipment that we need to be able to do that. So Jerry's got a tentative plan on this. And I was going to bring it up this summer when we look at the rate model, because obviously there's some things we need to discuss about the future. For example, one of the things council we're recommending is at some point we have to transition away, because now we all have side loaders. We have to transition away from people putting bags out, because the people have to get out of the truck, and there's an additional cost to that. And so that's a decision we talked about a couple of years ago, and we're now at the point we have the vehicles to be able to handle this. But it is going to be a mindset change for our citizens, because a lot of people still set trash bags out. And there will be an additional cost for that if they do that, if council approves that.
Okay.
Well, and my only thought is that I know there's so many residents that can't hide their tube carts. So there will be a lot of concern with that.
There is
They don't have
always a
place for
concern.
third
They
cart.
can cut their trees down, they won't have any, you know what I mean?
Or we can wait for them to blow over and come pick them up. One way or the
Yeah,
other,
they will
so.
pick them up. Jerry, you're doing a really good job,
are.
and I'm so proud that you're
I
a
appreciate
leader in
that,
this.
but I keep that back onto my team. They're an excellent team, and I'm blessed. I really am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job, Jerry.
All right. General authority business, item 6A, consideration and discussion and possible approval of resolution 1664. Tom Cook and Nate Ellis.
Good evening again. Resolution 1664 is a resolution of the authority to authorize a loan from OWRB in an amount not to exceed $26,400,000, approving the issuance of Series 2025A promissory note to OWRB, also not to exceed the $26,400,000, which is secured by a pledge of revenues and authorizing its execution, designating a local trustee, approving and authorizing the execution of the trust agreement, authorizing the execution of the loan agreement, authorizing the execution of the security agreement, ratifying and confirming the existing lease agreement, ratifying and confirming a sales tax agreement, approving and authorizing a note purchase agreement, approving various covenants, approving and authorizing application to OWRB, and authorizing payment of authorizing professional service agreements and the payment thereof, which essentially it's the same resolution and in a different amount that we've done for many years. And Nate is here to answer questions, or John.
What is going on? All of you, with your calls.
Yeah, I'm just like, I saw
Scoot
those
on
guys
down.
and I go.
Tell them to scoot
Get 'em
down.
down.
Okay, is there any questions, or
I
do you
do
need?
not have any questions.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
yes, sir.
I think you may have had someone sign up to speak on this.
Oh, yes, so sorry.
Oh, just kidding.
Yes,
I'll withdraw it till we hear him talk.
so sorry. William Coke, yes.
You've just spent all night with
There
us.
is like a smell in the air. I wonder if
I'm learning.
something went on.
So I just had some general questions. It sounds like you guys do this every year. So what's this for? Is it just prepaying all your expenses or what?
If I can, Madam Chair, members of the authority. So, every year we have a plan that talks about the water improvements that we need to make to the utility water system. And we also have the sewer portion. You know, it's either the lines no one ever sees, or it's the operation of the plant, water storage tanks and so forth. And so every year, as a part of the long-range plan that we have, Mr. Schwab and his team with Mr. Robbins, along with the engineering construction team, they make recommendations on what projects that we need to complete to continue to maintain our system. And the number is usually around $20 to $30 million every single year. And it's not always 15 for sewer projects or 15 for water. It depends on the priority based on the plan we're going off of. And then there could be additional improvements that we need to make because we're a part of the RMUA system, which is the city of Broken Arrow, Tulsa, Bixby, and so forth. We've got obligations to do mainly sewer improvements at that plant. And so what this really is that these are big ticket items that we don't have the capacity financially within the budget to be able to pay for with those dollars. So we have to go borrow the funds, and it's been determined consistently that the Oklahoma Water Resources Board is the most cost-effective way to borrow money to be able to complete these projects.
So we're paying for them through our rates?
Yes, sir.
But we don't have the money to do it?
No, we go out and we borrow the money. We identify the projects. There's specific requirements. Council has to go through the process before you this evening. And then we actually go to the Water Resources Board, and then they loan us the money. And this is the documents that we need to start that process to be able to borrow the funds for the projects that have been identified for either the current year's capital improvement program for Bama or for next year's program for 2026. But this isn't a thing we do annually or we have every year I've been here, because you have to maintain your system, whether it's above ground, which could be your sewer plant, your water treatment plants, or mainly the lines that really no one sees, water or sewer, to be able to maintain those and to a standard to where you don't have the breaks like we've experienced on County Line Road, or you have odor control systems that need to be upgraded to manage that part of the sewer collection process.
No, I'm all for fixing the water. We have to have water to live, and I don't particularly like waste in my backyard. So I'm all for improving the system. I just wondering if borrowing money is always the best way to do it versus just using the money I pay every time I pay my utility bill and paying for it as you go.
Well,
because rates hasn't gotten cheaper.
No, and that's a part of living in a community that's growing and has to maintain a quality of life. These projects are millions of dollars, okay? And so if you adjusted your rates or to be able to pay for them pay as you go, by the time you collected that money from the utility rate payers, the cost to do that project is going to be higher. And if you look at it by just adding, if there's several projects are $3 or $4 to $5 million. So if you go and you adjust your rates to collect that cash, it's going to take you, you're going to have to do it over multiple years, because the rate increases that folks would have to pay to do pay as you go. Not only is it going to cost them more, it's going to be more to complete the project, because what it costs today is not what it's going to cost 3 years from now. And so, believe me, we go through this process. When I make recommendations to the authority every year, how is the best way to pay for this? And just you look at that list, and I would encourage you to look at the budget, and you can see those projects. These are multi-million-dollar projects that it's simply the most cost-effective way for the ratepayers and for the city to get the work done is to actually go through the Oklahoma Water Resources Board.
Okay.
And it is a low interest rate. You know what I mean? They do give us a low interest rate because we are a municipality.
Yes, and as the Vice Mayor said, and one more caveat is actually we only borrow portions. We get authorized for, say, $5 million for a sewer line extension replacement. We only get charged for as we draw down off of that money. So it's not like we borrow $5 million and immediately start paying interest on it like you would on your home, for example. Is as you draw down off of the authorized amount, that's when you start making payments. So it's actually the most cost-effective way that I'm aware of to actually fund these large, expensive projects.
Okay.
And if you have a chance to take a look at those, sir, I'd be glad to actually talk about it a little bit further.
Okay. Second, I heard another trash cart. So can I trade my green one that you're about to give me for another black one?
You can get another black one.
I know, you're going
Now.
to charge me for it.
Well, someone's
I know,
gonna
but
pay.
you're giving
Well,
me a
if you
green one. I
don't,
just
if you
want-
don't need the green one, we'll get you two black ones.
All right.
I will tell you, sir, there's an attachment on the agenda. If you look at it online, it'll show you exactly where the money's going on all
Okay.
the projects, and it breaks it down project by project.
Yeah.
Oh, it's up there right now. But I mean, you can also get it, if you look at our agenda online, you can click at the attachment.
Sweet.
And it'll tell you exactly what we're spending
Thank you.
on what.
Thank you, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Love it.
Okay, so now, because we did not make, did we make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 1664.
I think you withdrew that.
You think
Right,
what?
I second it.
Okay.
Right, I
Okay.
think you pulled it out.
Oh, yeah, we pulled it out because we wanted to hear what he had to say,
Right.
so
Okay.
we withdrew it. Okay.
Roll call?
vote.
Remarks and inquiries by governing body members? Seeing none. City manager?
Madam Chair, I have no comments.
I'll make a motion to
Covered
adjourn.
it all.
I didn't know you'd wear down.
I'll second that.
Roll call to adjourn. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Excuse me. Pickle,
Here.
Green, Ford,
Here?
Parks,
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
A motion and second. Roll call. There are no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. General authority business. 6A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute an economic development agreement between CSI Aerospace, Inc., the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority, and the City of Broken Arrow. Amber Miller. I think it's the smell in the air. There's something like a...
Yeah, it just hit me.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, Vice Chairman, Trustees, City Manager, as referenced during our City Council meeting, this project, CSI Aerospace, will relocate and expand into a 40,000 square foot facility on 10 acres at Aero Forge. 108 jobs will be retained. 50 new jobs will be added over 5 years with an average wage of $50,000 annually. The economic development agreement includes the land grant of 10 acres, a tiered jobs reimbursement ranging from $1,000 to $5,000 per job, not to exceed $500,000. The reimbursement of permitting fees not to exceed $28,316, as well as expedited permitting. So I would respectfully request your approval to execute an economic development agreement between CSI Aerospace, Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority, and the City of Broken Arrow. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'll make a motion to approve item A 25-794.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Thank you. Roll call. All right, item B is consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute resolution number 1663.
Thank you, Chairperson, Vice Chair, Trustees, City Manager. Jennifer Rush, Economic Development Director for the City of Broken Arrow again. And this is Resolution 1663. This is similar to the resolution that you saw on the City Council meeting for the sale of the land of the project that Amber just talked about.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call. All right, item C, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an execution and authorization to execute resolution number 1666. Nate.
Good evening, thank you. Nathan Ellis, Public Finance Law Group. This is the culmination of TIF number 6, the Sooner Investment Development, the Hackberry Market project. So this is the final approval authorizing the issuance of bonds in not to exceed $28 million, authorizing all the various documents, including an indenture, security agreement, development financing assistance agreement with the developer, construction escrow fund agreement, mortgage. And so this project will be secured during the construction phase. The bonds will be issued, but the proceeds will be held in escrow until the developer completes their requirements relative to building the project. And so at the point in time that they've completed that and basically the stores are out there and about ready to open, that'll be the point in time where the escrow fund, the incentive is released to the developer, and then the stores will open and they'll they'll generate TIF revenue, and that's what will pay back the bonds. And so these bonds will be underwritten bond issue, and so there's a disclosure document, a preliminary official statement that you've received a draft of. We're continuing to kind of tweak some of the very technical language in there, but the gist of it is, I mean, this is an investment risk for the people that buy this. I mean, they understand there's no obligation of the city to pay this back other than the TIF revenues that are lawfully captured that have to be paid. If there are not TIF revenues, or if there are insufficient TIF revenues, there's no recourse back to the city or to Beta as well, and that's an investor risk that they're willing to take, and it's priced accordingly when they sell the bonds. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
It is sales tax solely.
Yes, yeah, this is a
2%,
sales
is that
tax
right?
only TIF. It's basically 2 cents of sales tax. So the city would realize the other 1.55% sales tax as additional revenue.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Remarks by governing body members? City manager?
I have none, Madam Chair.
We have no executive session. Entertain a motion to adjourn and go back into regular council.
I'll make a motion to adjourn and go back into regular council.
Second.
We're back in regular council for item
10D and
10D. Yes, 10D, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute Resolution 1665.
Good evening again. Resolution 1665, in a nutshell, approves what BAMA did in its meeting, because the debt issued by BAMA must be also approved by the council. And so 1665 gives that authorization and approval.
Okay.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. Item E is consideration, discussion of, and possible approval of, and authorization to execute Resolution 1667.
Much like the city must approve BAMA's debt, the city must also approve the Economic Development Authority's debt. And so Resolution 1667 accomplishes that.
Okay. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call. All right. Entertain a motion to take a brief recess and clear the room for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Pickle,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes.
We lost,
I know. We lost. I was about to have
I
a
know.
buzzer for
That
it.
midway, I
John,
know.
I cannot talk right now, so we have to keep it on that side.
I guess he didn't.